Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
And, I don't know how this happened, but it was terrible optics. The next day, the president goes golfing, and Secretary Kerry's out on his yacht. What does that say to young people in Egypt, across the Middle East, whether they're part of the debate, about America's interest in the region?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Steve Malzberg Show. We're back. It's post 4th of July weekend. That's over, and it's back to work, and glad to be here. Lots going on. We have the Zimmerman trial. We'll bring you the latest. Lots of blockbuster testimony today from defense witnesses. We will talk about that. We have the plane crash, the horrific crash at San Francisco International Airport on Saturday. We will have a pilot and aviation attorney in this hour to talk about that as well. Eliot Spitzer, the disgraced former governor of New York who frequented prostitutes, is now running for New York City comptroller. We'll talk to Roger Stone about that. He may even bring the former madam who arranged the trysts for Spitzer with him, because Stone is running her campaign. She's running against Spitzer. That's how bizarre this whole thing gets. But joining us right now, by the way, that was from Reuters, David Rode, talking about the fact that while Egypt was blowing up, John Kerry, Secretary of State, was pictured on his yacht. Even though they first denied it, they then admitted he was on his yacht. The president was playing golf. And that's a Reuters reporter on Face the Nation saying that. Joining us now is Congressman Pete Hoekstra, former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, former congressman from the state of Michigan, joining us once again. Hey, Congressman, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing just fine. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming back, and we do hope to hear from you often right here on the show. We appreciate that. All right, let's talk about, and let's start with Egypt, if we might. Today we had at least 51 people killed as demonstrations enraged, by the military overthrow of President Morsi. Supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood took to the streets, and this shows no signs of waning. It appears it's only going to get worse. Again, where do you see our role, our administration, our responsibility, our military aid? Talk about the United States and what its responsibility to this point has been and what we should be doing going forward.
Well, I think if there's one thing that people can say about our message in the Middle East over the last 5 years, is that it has been very, very inconsistent. We didn't stand with the people in the streets in Iran with the Green Revolution. We then threw Mubarak under the bus. Now, and then, in the last few weeks, we've been very, very quiet as Morsi has come under pressure. Morsi is now gone. And, I think, we need to decide exactly what we want in the Middle East. Clearly, it is it's vital to United States interests, but we need to outline exactly what our policy objectives, our foreign policy objectives are going to be in the Middle East. Is it to build democracy? Is it to have security? Is it to have stability? Is it to have protection of human rights? Exactly what is our strategy? We have not gotten a consistent message out of the Obama administration. A year and a half, 2 years ago under Mubarak, the message was democracy is the most important thing. We had elections. Those elections have now been, basically overturned by the intervention of the military. So now it looks like we're looking for something else, maybe a protection of human rights. We're not satisfied with the Muslim Brotherhood. But clearly, America needs to articulate what our priorities and what our principles are. We have not done that. No,
we haven't done that. And to what extent, sir, do you hold the Obama administration responsible for the election of the Muslim Brotherhood? I know it was an open election. I know it was a free election. But nonetheless, it seemed like the president coddled President Morsi, a man who has made derogatory statements about Jews and others. He clamped down on the Coptic Christians. He was looking to override the will of the public with Sharia law. He declared that he was above the Constitution, and his laws and his decrees were without question. Do you think that our administration should have spoken up much sooner before this eventuality?
Well, I think we sent a clear signal, or this administration sent a clear signal when the president went to Cairo to give his famous speech on reaching out into the Middle East and changing America's image and perception throughout the Middle East by opening the door to the Muslim Brotherhood, which I think ultimately planted the seeds for the overthrow of Mubarak. We then have coddled with the Muslim Brotherhood after they won the elections, and we saw what they did. They didn't clamp down on the Coptic Christians. They started an era of persecution and the killing of the Coptics. Thousands of Coptics have felt the need to flee from Egypt, and rightfully so. I mean, human rights abuses have totally escalated under the Muslim Brotherhood, and this administration never stood up to Morsi and his government and said, that America will cut off aid if you do not respect human rights and those types of things. We want stability, we want security, but we want the protection of religious minorities and other minorities throughout Egypt. We never stood up to the Muslim Brotherhood, and as the people finally took to the streets, again, this administration was relatively quiet, and we didn't know where to find them and what their position was, and that insecurity and that lack of certainty is what, again, has led us to some of the problems that we have today.
We're talking to Congressman Pete Hoekstra, former chair of the House Intelligence Committee, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. All right, what about foreign aid? What about our aid to Egypt and the military? Well over $1 billion a year. If we classified this as a military coup, as some around the world have, I don't think our government has, then legally we have to withhold that aid. So how do you think that should be handled going forward by the Congress and by the administration, sir?
There are arguments for and against the military aid, but I don't think there's any question that this was a military coup. American law says that when you throw out a democratically elected government, foreign aid will be suspended. We should suspend the foreign aid. We are a country of laws. And we shouldn't try to parse some words or parse some activities and actions and say, well, this really wasn't a military coup, and by this definition or that definition, it really isn't. The bottom line, it is the overthrow of a democratically elected government is a serious issue. In the interim, we should cut off foreign aid to them. I personally think that this government is going to be more respectful of human rights. They're going to be friendlier to the U.S. than what the Morsi government has been. But again, we are a country that has the rule of law. This administration has been more than generous in deciding which laws it will implement and live by and which ones it will not. But this is one that we should live by, all of them. But this is one we should live by. We should suspend aid. If the president wants to give aid to this new government, then it's his requirement to come back to Congress and change the law or get a vote of Congress to support this government. He just can't say, well, the law is out there, but I'm not going to abide by it.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a perfect transition, sir, into my next topic, and that is the Obamacare health mandate.
Yep.
Congress passed this health care law. Does the president have the power to say, well, the law is supposed to start, next year, but we're gonna push it off a year and change this part and give exemptions here and change that? He circumvented the Congress on so many issues over the years of his presidency, and there are some who are questioning the legality of his being able to do this. And as a follow-up, let me ask you, I know that the House has passed the termination of the health care bill several times, but aren't they still able to say, because they control the purse strings, that going forward we will not pass a dime, not for the IRS, not for any agency, that will make Obamacare possible. So if you can take those two questions, sir.
Sure. Number one, it's, the president a couple of years ago, he said, well, we're going to basically implement the DREAM Act, which was for immigration. And we're not going to do it by, Congress passing legislation. I'm just going to pick and choose what parts of immigration law I'm going to enforce and which ones I'm not. He's doing the same thing now with health care. And, Steve, that makes us look an awful lot like a banana republic rather than a constitutional government. Where you actually pass laws and you live by the laws that you implement. What the president is now seeing is that the mandate that every company over 50 employees pay a penalty or provide health care is not workable. It's very, very unpopular. So he's going to delay it. He's going to delay it for a year so it goes out beyond the midterm elections. He's also giving states the latitude to say, you know what? This income verification for whether you're going to get a subsidy or not, that's not really all that important. We're going to give you latitude on that as well. And, you can't implement health care where you've got a president and an executive branch saying, well, we're going to do this, but, we don't really care what the law says. We're just going to modify it so that it kind of works for us. And the end result is you and I aren't going to know how it works. We don't know what the budget implications are going to be. It's no way to run a government. If the president wants a delay in this, he should go back to Congress. He should negotiate with Congress and say, hey, we need to change these parts of the law. Let's work through that process and let's make it work. Let's not do it by unilateral action. Congress clearly has the House clearly has the authority with the purse strings to say, we're not going to fund parts of this. And that's how we're going to negotiate with the president for reform. I hope that's exactly what they do. The president, by his recent decisions, is clearly indicating that he recognizes parts of the Affordable Care Act are not affordable. They're not going to improve health care. They're in trouble. The House Republicans, the House should now negotiate with the president, put in reforms, because they're not going to be able to terminate it with this president, but put in reforms that they gives them the opportunity to fix as much as they can, because clearly this thing is starting to fall apart.
Right, under the threat of not funding it, correct? Now, when would be the next opportunity to do that? Because I've talked to people who are a little befuddled because they're like me, that we're not politicians and we're not lawyers, and we don't understand why that hasn't been done yet, because this bill has been passed for several years. So when is the next opportunity for the House to say, President Obama, you're not getting the money for this unless we talk? So when could they do that?
They can do that right now. Government is funded through September 30. And so right now Congress is going through the appropriations process where they are passing spending bills that will fund the government beginning on October 1 of 2013.
So they got to hurry up, right?
Now.
If Boehner's going to do this, we'll hear about it soon, right?
If they're going to do it, you're going to hear it right now. You've got a debt limit ceiling coming up. All these things are on the table. Now is the time now is the time and the opportunity for House Republicans to act. The president has admitted parts of the law aren't working. They have the tools at their disposal to have a negotiation with the president and to work their will. Absolutely.
Well, Congressman, very informative, and I certainly hope your colleagues, your former colleagues, take your advice, because it's getting very frustrating. Thank you, sir, for your generous time with us, and we'll speak to you again soon.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. That's Congressman, former Congressman Pete Hoekstra, former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Covered a lot of interesting issues there. Egypt and Obama, just deciding what parts of laws he'll enforce, what parts of laws he won't enforce, doing it without the Congress. And unfortunately, the Congress is letting him get away with it. I don't know what to tell you. All right, folks, at the bottom of this hour, several major TV networks turned down an ad from a group called Heroic Media, a pro-life ad. We'll talk about that at the bottom of the hour. Plus, later in the hour, Daniel Rose, pilot and aviation attorney, about the plane crash in San Francisco on Saturday. We got a lot ahead. The Zimmerman trial, I'll give you a little synopsis when we come back on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Meet Jim. Like many of us, Jim enjoys a busy life. Between work, family, and friends, his days zip along. And Jim has the energy to tackle almost anything. But lately, Jim's get up and go has literally taken on a new meaning. Jim's always put focus on a full night's sleep, but it seems like these days, he's up and down to go to the bathroom so many times he can barely wake up in the morning. His prostate concerns have him sad, tired, and worried. Activities that were once enjoyable now seem like a chore for Jim. His golf game is at the mercy of his bathroom schedule. Family outings are planned around it too. Jim even has difficulty going to the bathroom. He's tried so many prostate remedies he can't keep them straight, and nothing ever seems to help. Then Jim found out about Prostate Revive, the all-natural dietary supplement specifically formulated for men, targeted towards improving and sustaining normal prostate function. Prostate Revive includes 15 super ingredients never combined before, including saw palmetto extract, beta-cytosterol, pomegranate fruit extract, selenium, and other high-quality nutrients. These targeted and all-natural ingredients promote healthy urinary flow and optimal prostate health. And the best part is, Prostate Revive was developed by a renowned medical doctor. Dr. David Brownstein personally formulated Prostate Revive with one goal in mind: to promote a healthy prostate gland. Thanks to Prostate Revive, Jim's got his life back. He gets a full night's sleep every night, and his friends and his wife can't believe he's the same guy. He has his old energy back, and no one has to wait for him. He doesn't even think about his prostate concerns anymore. Visit MedicSelect.com to take back your nights and improve your quality of life with Prostate Revive.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at Aftershock911.com. Aftershock911.com.
Obamacare. More than $1 trillion in new costs. Hidden taxes, fees, big Medicare cuts, doctor shortages. How can we survive?
To know Obamacare is to survive Obamacare. The Obamacare Survival Guide tells you everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Attention, if you've been classified as a high-risk driver due to DUI, DWI, or tickets for aggressive driving and are required to get expensive and hard-to-find SR22 auto insurance, then you must listen to this message because we can help. We're the largest insurance company in the U.S. specializing in SR22 auto insurance and focused on serving the needs of customers classified by the state as high-risk drivers. We help people get back on their feet by providing easy-to-get, low-cost SR22 insurance that anyone can afford. If you need SR22 auto insurance, or if you have it now and are paying too much, you need to call us today for your free quote at 800-836-4606. Our specialists are standing by waiting for your call. We understand people make mistakes, and we're here to help by making SR22 insurance easy to get and affordable for everyone. The call and quote are free. Call us now at 800-836-4606. That's 800-836-4606. Again, 800-836-4606.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I hope you all had a very good 4th of July weekend. I know I did. Very enjoyable. You know, it's when I'm not here, I'm like a fish out of water. You always want to be doing a show because something's always happening. And I was watching the trial on Friday and screaming at the TV and saying, "Wait, I got to talk about this." But unfortunately, my son was the only one to talk about it with. And we had a great weekend. He played a lot of baseball. Didn't win a lot, but played a lot of baseball in the heat He's a catcher, talking double headers. I guess there's strength in youth. That's all I could say. Okay, what happened today at the Zimmerman trial? What a day for the defense. And we're going to talk about this at length later. What a day for the defense. Just a couple of days. On Friday, you had Trayvon Martin's mother saying that the voice on the 911 tape screaming for help was her son, Trayvon Martin. You had George Zimmerman's mother and uncle saying it was George Zimmerman. Today, not only did you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 witnesses swear that the voice on the tape calling for help was George Zimmerman, but you had the 2 police detectives who had previously taken the stand come back to the stand and say that when they asked, when Trayvon Martin's father was asked, do you know whose voice that is on the tape screaming for help? He said no. That's why he didn't take the stand for the prosecution and say, that's my son's voice, because he told the police when they asked him 2 days after the attack, 2 days after the incident, when they played him the tape, he said no. Is that your son's voice? No. Not only that, so devastating. Then you got, the lot was made that George Zimmerman took MMA training or whatever. So they got his instructor on the stand, just left the stand right now. The instructor said George Zimmerman couldn't fight anybody. He was a horrible fighter. He took the class to lose weight. He lost about 50 to 60 pounds. He did not take the class to learn how to punch or to learn how to kick or to learn how to wrestle or to learn how to fight. So he's not a fighter. He wasn't a good fighter. In fact, they said he was a terrible fighter, a poor fighter. He couldn't fight. Great, great day for George Zimmerman and the defense in this case. And we'll talk about it at length later with John Rocker and an attorney who splits his time between Florida and New York right here on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you need to lose weight and would like to get paid for it, that's right, I said get paid to lose weight. Just listen to the following announcement. The makers of GCE Green Coffee Bean Weight Loss are looking for real testimonials from real people and will pay you per pound to meet or exceed your weight loss goal. Until now, the secrets of green coffee's fat-burning power has been limited, but thanks to Dr. Oz, the secret is out. And now, this authentic green coffee bean fat burner is available in easy-to-take tablets. There are no expensive meals to buy or strenuous workouts. Simply take one tablet before each meal and record your progress. Only the first 200 callers are guaranteed to be accepted into the program. So if you're serious about losing extra weight and want to earn extra cash for fitting into your skinny jeans again, call 800-383-9230 now. Call 800-383-9230. 800-383-9230. Space is limited, so hurry and secure your spot today. 800-383-9230. Some conditions apply. 800-383-9230. 800-383-9230.
If your prostate is giving you problems and your doc says it's just part of getting older, be wary. Renowned physician and author Dr. David Brownstein thinks this is baloney. He's discovered a link between aging and prostate health and believes prostate concerns do not have to be an inevitable part of aging. That's why he created Prostate Revive.
Hi, I'm Dr. David Brownstein. I personally formulated Prostate Revive to include the most essential natural ingredients available to help promote a healthy prostate gland and optimal urinary function.
The producers of Dr. Brownstein's Prostate Revive are so thrilled with the positive feedback from satisfied customers that for a limited time, they are willing to send you your first month's supply free. Plus, call now and you'll also receive Dr. Brownstein's special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. For details on getting your free bottle, call 1-800-596-REVIVE. That's 1-800-596-REVIVE. Take control with Prostate Revive. Call now while supplies last to claim your risk-free bottle at 1-800-596-REVIVE.
Are payday loans ruining your life? If you have 2 or more payday loan cash advances, listen closely. You may be eligible for a program that payday loan companies don't want you to know about.
This program will get payday loan companies out of your bank account and put an end to the payday loan nightmare. Call for free information and find out if Payday Loan Support Center is right for you. Payday loan companies usually trap you into paying rates as high as 700%. We understand payday lenders' tactics. Don't let them take advantage of you anymore. All you need is 2 or more payday loans to qualify. We can help even if you're behind in collections or have bad credit.
Internet payday loans qualify for this program as well. So call 800-250-5084. That's 800-250-5084. The call is free and the consultation is free. Don't miss out. Call for your free information on payday loan relief. 800-250-5084. That's 800-250-5084. Again, 800-250-5084.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect with higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts, and some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book. Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, while states all over the country are passing legislation that limits abortion, certainly in many instances bans abortion after 20 weeks, and I think that's a very good thing, we still have a media in this country that wants no part of the pro-life movement, no part of the coverage of the pro-life movement, no coverage of truthful presentation of the pro-life movement or who they are. To the media, all they are is trying to control a woman's body, a woman's uterus. You know the whole spiel. Well, now we have an organization that has approached major newspapers in this country, USA Today, the Los Angeles Times, Chicago Tribune, to place an ad. And they have been turned down. And joining us now to talk about that is Marissa Cope. She's Director of Communications at Heroic Media. Hello, Marissa. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. Hi, Steve.
Well, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. Okay, first of all, tell people a little bit about your organization, what Heroic Media is.
Sure. Heroic Media, we're a national faith-based organization, and we promote a culture of life by using media to connect women with life-affirming resources, as well as to inform the public about some of the nuances of the abortion issue and change attitudes for a culture of life. So we do television, internet, all types of media across the country.
All right, I want to put up a picture. If we could put up picture image 41. And this is the ad that you wanted placed in the aforementioned newspapers. It's up for our viewers at Newsmax.com. But for those listening on the radio, could you tell us, explain it, describe it, and tell us what it says?
Sure. So the original ad that was submitted to several major publications across the country features an image of a 20 to 24 week baby in the hand of an adult, and so the baby just fits right inside that adult hand, and it features copy that says, "This child has no voice, which is why it depends on yours," and then continues to call on the reader to say, "Speak up, tell your senator to support the Pain Capable Unborn Child Act." So trying to bring voice to the voiceless and really to give a face to these children we're talking about at 20 weeks of development and show exactly what human life at 20 weeks of development looks like. Which is germane to the bills being passed all over the country at this point. So tell me what obviously the responses from the newspapers I mentioned, USA Today, the LA Times, Chicago Tribune, said no. Did they just give you a no, or did they give a reason attached to any of them? Well, we were told that the image made the ad too controversial, and so we actually submitted an alternate ad with the same copy but a different image, And the irony is the original ad is actually a medically accurate fetal model, so it does show exactly what that 20-week life looks like. Well, the alternative ad is an in utero image of an actual living in utero 20-week child. And this alternative ad was accepted by the Chicago Tribune and has run today in Chicago, but continued to be rejected by the LA Times and USA Today both. So it's crazy to think that talking about these children in theory, talking about protecting that woman's right supposedly to take the life of these children is completely acceptable. But when we put a face to who we're talking about in the womb, that's too controversial for major media outlets.
It is incredible. It's not surprising for, if you've covered the media like I have, and if you are aware. I'm sure you weren't totally surprised either, or your group wasn't, were you?
Certainly. We run benign, truthful, hopeful ads like this all the time. A lot of times what we're running are call for help messages geared at women facing unexpected pregnancies and connecting them with life-affirming resources at local pregnancy centers. We've had equally benign ads rejected by major cable television outlets just because people don't like to talk about this issue in a positive or life-affirming way.
It is a tragedy, and there should be some requirement that they give both sides of an issue if they're truly newspapers, because that's what they're supposed to be. But I would assume that and I obviously by the fact that it was a 20-week-old fetus, you're encouraged by, and we're trying to educate the public on just what that fetus looks like, because of the fact that in Texas, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Ohio, Texas hasn't happened yet, obviously, but we're getting laws, state after state, passed around that 20-week plateau, if you will.
Absolutely. We've seen a great response from people who support the unborn and who support the legislation that's moving at the national level as well as at the state level in so many states. We are based in Austin, Texas, so certainly a hub for this conversation right now. And we've had people wanting to feature the ad and the image in other mediums, in their additional local papers. We've had requests for billboards and T-shirts and bumper stickers. So the truth is getting out there, and that's really what we stand for, is the power of media to raise this conversation, and that's exactly what's happening.
We're talking to Marissa Cope, Director of Communications at Heroic Media, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Do you have any, are you planning any legal challenge? Have you contacted any of the groups that do legal work for organizations such as yours or others who might feel that their rights have been denied? And I don't know if you feel that way, but do you plan any legal action or any alternative action to try to get those ads placed in those newspapers?
We're focusing on finding alternative media channels at this point, and just trying to find the best way to get the word out. We're here to advocate for getting the word out to the public and advocating for these children, and not making this about us. So the more we can get the word out about these young children whose lives are on the line and hanging in the balance, that's what we'll call success.
All right. Well, listen, give the folks the website, and I know that you got a phone number that you have for women who feel that they need to talk to somebody or want to talk to somebody. I know you do that kind of counseling as well. So give us the website and the phone number, if you will.
Sure. You can reach Heroic Media at heroicmedia.com. And that features all types of information about not only this ad campaign, but those call for help campaigns helping women in crisis pregnancies as well. heroicmedia.com.
Okay, sounds good. All right, Marissa, thank you very much, and we'll keep an eye on this. Keep us informed as to what's going on. You have my Twitter, I have yours. We retweeted each other's tweets about your interview today. So let us know how this progresses. Okay.
Fabulous. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, Marissa Cope, Director of Communications at Heroic Media, and again, it's discouraging. It's disgraceful. But it's not surprising. They could get away with it. They continue to get away with it. And it's no surprise that the newspaper business is, for the most part, dying. Because for the most part, you have these liberal newspapers that people are tired of, fed up with the editorial content of it, fed up with the biased coverage of it. And, of course, there's so many more choices now, not the least of which is this where you're watching this show at Newsmax.com or listening to this show on XM Radio or on newstalk1160.com, the talk of the town, or Newstalk 1160 on the radio itself out down in Atlanta on AM radio. So it's no surprise that newspapers are dying, but when they turn down these kinds of ads, what's offensive? What's offensive about a hand, for those of you who didn't see it, and she described it, about a hand holding an anatomically correct baby at 20 weeks? What's offensive about that? Childbirth is the most beautiful thing in the world, right? How could that be offensive? To whom? Well, you wouldn't want to convince a mother not to kill that baby. Oh, I see. Okay, thank you very much. That's the offensive part. And let's call it what it is. That's the offensive part. But this fight is not over, and state after state, and this issue is not gratuitously talked about by me here. It's in the news. It's in the news because of the states, Texas, the other states that have signed this legislation, and more that are coming. When we come back, the horrific plane crash in San Francisco over the weekend on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Credit card companies lure you in with low introductory rates or low minimum payments, and before you know it, you owe thousands of dollars in credit card debt. It has happened to millions of good people just like you. But here's the good news. Thanks to a powerful program now approved, anyone with $2,000 or more in credit card debt can cut their credit card payments up to half and even reduce or eliminate interest charges altogether. That's right. Our nationwide nonprofit program is helping U.S. residents cut their credit card payments. Call 800-613-3159 now. The call and information are free. We've helped over 500,000 people with their credit card debt, and now we can help you. Call 800-613-3159 to see how this powerful nonprofit program can work for you. Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Get free of credit card debt today. Call 800-613-3159. That's 800-613-3159. Again, 800-613-3159.
Hey guys, do you know your testosterone level? You should. Each year, declining testosterone robs more of your energy, drive, motivation, and even your ability to perform in bed. Take control of your testosterone today. Write this number down because Progene, the leader in dual-action testosterone supplements, is now giving you a free supply if you call today at 800-592-4834. If you'd like to feel closer to 20 than 40 and get back that energy, drive, and confidence, call now to try Progene risk-free. Don't believe us? We'll even prove it works. Ask about our at-home testosterone test kits and see for yourself what Progene can do for you. Be one of the next 100 callers. We'll triple your order and send you a full 1-month supply of Progene for free. A $70 value for only the cost of shipping and handling. Call 800-592-4834 for details. Know your level and kick your drive back into gear with Progene. Call 800-592-4834. That's 800-592-4834. Again, 800-592-4834.
Guys, you've heard about Ageless Male, the natural supplement that helps boost testosterone levels within normal, healthy ranges. But now, the best testosterone product is even better. New and improved Ageless Male can help you feel more like you used to in your active life and in your romantic life. Because our upgraded formula has been clinically shown to increase your drive, desire, and performance. That's right, guys. Ageless Male has been clinically shown to boost performance. Cancel your plans this weekend. You're staying in. If you're ready to recapture the drive from your youth, now is the time to try Ageless Male because it's available risk-free. But you must call now. Just call 1-800-460-9790. Be the guy you used to be. Just call 1-800-460-9790. 1-800-460-9790. 1-800-460-9790.
Drug, alcohol, and gambling addiction can be devastating for you and your loved ones. Don't let the disease of addiction ruin everything you've worked so hard for. The Treatment Helpline has helped thousands of people just like you take control of their addictions and live healthier, cleaner, and happier lives. You are not alone. Now there's hope. The Treatment Helpline has helped people just like you overcome their addiction. If you or a loved one is suffering from a drug, alcohol, or gambling addiction, let us help you today. Call 1-800-813-9821. Our seasoned addiction treatment professionals can show you how to use your private health insurance to help cover the costs of this life-changing program. Call now and get a free confidential consultation. 1-800-813-9821. That's 1-800-813-9821. Help is only a phone call away. Call 1-800-813-9821. That's 1-800-813-9821.
Tired of calls, levies, and liens from the IRS or hiring others who don't get the job done? Call Wall & Associates and you'll never talk to the IRS again. The IRS has a program to eliminate tax debt, and Wall & Associates professionals are trained to maximize its benefits for you. You always speak with a live person with real support and real knowledge. We've helped thousands of taxpayers like you settle their tax debt with the IRS for a fraction of what they owe. We solve tax problems. Call Wall & Associates now. 800-574-6029. We have the professionals who know how to solve tax problems. If you owe money to the IRS, your tax problems are not going away by themselves, and the passage of time will only make matters worse. Act now, before it's too late. Call Wall & Associates right now to speak to a professional tax relief agent. Call 800-574-6029. That's 800-574-6029. Again, 800-574-6029.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at Newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
We are getting our first look inside Asiana Flight 214 after it crashed on landing at San Francisco International Airport. The National Transportation Safety Board now on the scene, releasing these pictures to the public. You can see the charred interior of the plane, the seats crushed together, and the oxygen masks dangling from the ceiling. Good morning, everyone. I'm Greg Jarrett in for Bill Hemmer here in America's Newsroom.
And I'm Patty Ann Brown in for Martha McCallum. We are learning new details about the pilot who had flown just 43 hours on a Boeing 777 when he attempted to land this aircraft. The NTSB now says the plane was traveling too slow and too low before it hit the seawall in front of the runway. The tail section breaking off the plane as it skidded across the runway.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Of course, we were all riveted at the horror, as we usually are when there's a plane crash. But usually when there's a plane crash, we don't, you know, if we're on a plane, let me put it this way, and we're landing and we're that close to the runway, yeah, you brace for a little, you know, the wheels coming down, you hold on sometimes, but you kind of think you made it, especially if you're coming to San Francisco from South Korea. Joining us now to talk about the crash of the Boeing 777, the Asiana Airlines that crashed at San Francisco International Airport on Saturday, is Daniel Rose, a military-trained pilot, aviation attorney. Hey, Daniel, how are you, sir?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's my pleasure. Okay. Talk about this kind of crash. I mean, how rare is something like this?
Well, you mentioned my background in the Navy, and I can't help but go back to the days of landing on the carrier, and you would watch every approach come in, and you know, there were a lot more frequent instances of what's called ram strikes when part of the plane hits the ramp. Of course, there you had to clear the ramp by 11 feet to be on glide slope. Here, he was very low and slow. You had to clear the end of the runway by about 150 feet, and he, of course, didn't come close to that. But the answer is, in civilian aviation, commercial aviation, very rare. Certainly in this country, we've had a great track record in the last few decades. You know, landings remain probably the most dangerous phase of flight statistically, but overall, it's still very safe. Once you leave the country and you get, you know, towards some of the third world countries and Eastern Asia, you know, it's a little bit different. They haven't to the extent that we have here, they haven't really developed an aviation safety system, and it's more unfortunately likely that you could have circumstances like we saw at.
All right, now, I'm sorry. Now let's talk about the circumstances that we saw and what you might be referring to. First of all, a lot of attention now focused on the pilot, that he only had 40-some-odd hours of flying a 777 prior to this flight. I guess, at first glance to an amateur like me, that might seem like, wow, that's outrageous. But there's always going to be a pilot that's flying his first flight, after training, correct?
Yeah, it's like a doctor, at some point they got to have their first patient, right?
So you don't want to know about that as a passenger, and if you are a passenger, you might opt out. But how much of this? Because and I want you to tell us what you think the problem was. We hear about the voice recorders reportedly. They tried to avert a landing and take off again and to try it again. But so how much of these circumstances that we now know about do you believe could be attributable to the fact that this was his first full flight on this airplane?
Well, I think what I've heard is it's his first full flight into San Francisco with 43 hours. I'm sure he's even if you count 10 hours for the flight over, he's at least flown the
Okay, so his first flight of that length probably to San Francisco. Okay.
Right, and that in and of itself should really not be troubling. He had thousands of hours, I think 12,000 hours in other aircraft. But I think that opens up the door to a couple of issues. One is, the dynamic that's in the cockpit. And, we all know what happened here. It was low and slow and it crashed into the seawall. The question is why? And I think you're going to have to look at the human factors specifically to get a good handle on that. And where the experience comes in, I think, and this is, a little bit of speculation, but you do have two senior, in terms of flight hours, people in the cockpit. One is learning, one is supposed to be training to some extent. And you may have a dynamic that is not traditional and kind of uncomfortable, where the so-called senior pilot may be a little bit more reluctant to speak up or warn or caution what he considers to be, a contemporary, at least in flight experience and perhaps age, and maybe even higher up in seniority at the company. So,
yeah, the co-pilot, I believe, had over 3,200 hours of flying experience with the Boeing 777.
Right.
So that does make your point, yeah.
Yeah, but I guess my overall point is, these are some of the things you're going to have to look at to get an answer to why was this plane low and slow. Other issues are certainly, I think, to look at are the automation involved. Again, this comes back to, was this pilot used to flying a different plane, the Airbus? The Airbus has a very different philosophy in terms of automation, and it's much more automated. You can just sit there and pull back on the stick, the yoke, and the plane will go exactly where you want it to go and give you enough power. Boeing has a different philosophy. They have a philosophy of, well, we're going to give you automation and computerization, but at the end of the day, we're going to default to the pilot to fly the plane. And as a result, some of their systems are different, such as a system called automatic throttles, auto throttles, which is supposed to set the amount of power you need for the approach. And if you get too slow, add a lot of power. That system, however, under the Boeing design is disabled under 400 feet because it thinks you're getting ready to land.
So it becomes a pilot's responsibility, and there's no automation to kick in, and indications are that they were going too slow, correct?
Absolutely. So, I think there you got to look at the potential mismatch between the pilot and the automation. What did the pilot expect the automation to do? What did the automation think the pilot wanted it to do?
Daniel, we're talking to Daniel Rose, military-trained pilot, aviation attorney here on the Steve Malzberg Show. As an aviation attorney, what could we expect legally coming out of this? I mean, the injuries, the paralysis, and at least 2 people, hospitalization of hundreds. We also have an instance where it appears that one of the 2 girls who died was tragically run over possibly by an emergency vehicle responding to the scene. So what can we expect legally going forward here?
It's, obviously the first concern is for hopefully everybody to get better as soon as possible, and to best wishes for the families that lost loved ones. But there's going to be inevitably a legal process that develops. It's pretty complicated by virtue of the fact that it's an international flight. There's an international treaty that generally covers the liability of airlines who fly internationally. I could bore you with hours of what that means, but it's very complicated. But from a legal point of view, the legal system should really track the NTSB's findings to some extent. So the NTSB will look at what caused it, and I don't think they're going to just leave it at pilot error. I think they'll look deeper into some of the other issues, such as the instrument landing system, the automation, the training, and the legal system, the legal process should really track that, so that for instance, if the drivers that were responding, albeit certainly with good nature, I'm sure, were careless in the way they did it, and it turns out that they injured somebody, that's another legal issue that pops up.
Let me ask you one final question, Daniel. Do you think there should be a system? I mean, like I alluded to earlier, I probably wouldn't get on a plane if I knew it was this guy's first intercontinental trip. But you do get to ask a doctor, how many of these surgeries have you performed? You're new in the practice. How many years have you been practicing? You think there should be some way that people could find this stuff out about pilots?
Well, do I think it should be? Ideally, yeah. But as a practical matter, that's never going to happen. And, as a practical matter, I think you have to fall back on the overall safety of our aviation system and take sorry about that.
That's all right.
Solace in knowing that that's that the odds are with you, if you will, and that there are systems in place and cross checks and precautions in place to make sure that even if you have a younger pilot or less experienced, that they're paired up with more senior pilots, that there's a process and training phase in place that is structured and standardized, so that you can get people through the pipeline safely and obviously and not jeopardize whatsoever the traveling public. And
Right.
That's the number one priority.
Daniel, thank you so much, sir. I hope we get to talk to you again. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye. Daniel Rose, ladies and gentlemen, military-trained pilot, aviation attorney here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Terrible, terrible situation. To me, the worst part of the flight is always takeoff.
The Steve Malzberg Show. The Steve Malzberg Show.
My patients still don't know what Obamacare means for them. And how could they? There are already 13,000 pages of regulations, and the bureaucrats are just getting started. Obamacare will change your health care, and you need to understand how. There are hidden taxes and fines, big cuts in Medicare, even new regulations on what services doctors can offer you. Some businesses could get hit with a 40% additional tax on your health care plan. Please, get the Obamacare Survival Guide today. It's the best book explaining the new law. It's easy to read, everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere.
Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
Here's today's silver shortage update from Lear Capital.
Reports keep coming, the shortage is growing. Twice already this year, the U.S. Mint has run out. Last time this happened, the silver price jumped 40%. It's time to take advantage with this special offer from Lear Capital.
For a limited time, buy 20 new silver polar bear coins and get one free.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. We begin in Egypt, where violence between Islamist supporters of ousted President Mohamed Morsi, the Egyptian military, and anti-government protesters continues to escalate. Late Monday, Egyptian state TV aired video that appears to show Morsi supporters opening fire against soldiers during one of the clashes in the streets of Cairo. Meanwhile, sources within the Muslim Brotherhood Party say at least 42 people were killed when the army cracked down on Morsi supporters during morning prayers outside the barracks where he is being held. And according to Asiana Airlines, the pilot in control at the time of that crash in San Francisco is a veteran with nearly 10,000 hours of flight time, but he was new to the Boeing 777 and landing at San Francisco's International Airport for the first time. Investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board continue to comb through the wreckage. They say the plane was coming in too slow when its tail slammed into the seawall at the front of the runway. Analysis of the flight data recorders show the pilots tried to speed up, but it was too late.
A call to initiate a go-around occurred 1.5 seconds before impact.
Meanwhile, investigators expect to interview the crew over the next couple of days, and the two 16-year-old girls from China who were killed in the crash, well, they were headed to a summer camp here in the United States, and now San Francisco's fire chief says there's a possibility that an emergency vehicle rushing to the scene may have hit and killed one of those girls. Also, doctors say most of the 182 injured passengers were sitting in the back of the plane. Some of them may now be paralyzed.
What we did see are a huge amount of spine fractures, some of them which include paralysis.
And the George Zimmerman murder trial is now in its third week. Jurors heard more from the defense team Monday, including testimony from some of Zimmerman's friends. The prosecution rested its case late last week with both the victim, Trayvon Martin's mother, and the defendant, George Zimmerman's mother, claiming it was their son screaming for help on that 911 call. And Secretary of State John Kerry's wife, Teresa Heinz Kerry, has been upgraded to fair condition at Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston. Heinz Kerry had been at the couple's Nantucket vacation home over the weekend when she became ill, reportedly suffering some seizure-like symptoms. She was stabilized at a local emergency room and then flown to Boston, where she is being treated now, and was initially listed in critical condition. And coming up next on your Newsmax Now update, Canada's Prime Minister calls it a war zone, the latest on that deadly train crash in Quebec, and why dozens of people are still missing. Plus, a Newsmax exclusive interview from Cairo, business and political leader Ahmad Saeed explains why this military takeover is not a coup, but instead a revolution. That's next.
You've heard the allegations on the news, and during the big game, pro football players have been using deer antler velvet to get a competitive edge. Banned at the London Games for its performance-enhancing qualities. Forbidden in major sports leagues for being an unfair advantage to athletes. Deer antler velvet is now in stock and available to try for free for a limited time only. Athletes have been using it for years for increased strength, increased endurance, muscle mass stress reduction, and yes, greatly enhanced libido. Everyone's talking about this miracle substance so powerful, it's being banned by professional sports organizations, but for a limited time, it's being made available to the general public. Best of all, you can try it for free by calling 800-678-5153. That's right, get Superior Velvet for free. If you're looking to boost your performance on the field and between the sheets, get the most powerful, proven product used by athletes for years now for free. Claim your free bottle today by calling 800-678-5153. That's 800-678-5153. Again, 800-678-5153.
What is Lignet? Lignet is knowledge. Lignet is power. Lignet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is Lignet? Lignet is confidential. Lignet is sensitive. Lignet is security. What is Lignet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on Lignet.com. You've been briefed.
Have you ever wondered how you could make a difference in someone's life? What if you could help hundreds or even thousands of children? Students in the U.S. rank 32nd in world math skills. It's time for our children to catch up. Become an owner of one of the world's fastest growing franchises, Mathnasium. Mathnasium is the leading math-only learning center in the U.S. Imagine helping hundreds, even thousands of students in your community improve in school and raise their self-esteem. Call us at 800-676-5216. 800-676-5216.
And welcome back. Dozens of people are still missing after a train derailed in Quebec, Canada. 5 people are confirmed dead, at least, in that crash, but authorities say that number is likely to climb higher. The train was carrying tanker cars filled with oil when it went off the track Saturday. At least 5 of the cars exploded on impact. Canada's Prime Minister Stephen Harper says the site looks like a war zone. And as violence and protests continue to mount in the streets of Egypt, we speak with Ahmad Saeed, an Egyptian political and business leader, during a Newsmax exclusive interview. He says this uprising is not a military coup, but a big revolution with broad support among the Egyptian people.
Yes, it is critical. Yes, the army is standing in the streets, but the army is also not alone. It is supported by mass protests against Morsi.
And for the latest on the situation in Egypt and to see more of our exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax.com. This has been your Newsmax Now update for July the 8th. I'm John Bachman. Now here's the Steve Malzberg Show in New York.
Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Look, it's obviously the largest, the most organized and disciplined of all the elements, all the parties in Egypt. However, it is not a majority. It isn't even close to a majority. And if it comes, and what was so remarkable about the demonstrations that led to the overthrow of the government, and about the people standing behind the chief of staff when he announced the coup, where you had representatives of the Christians, of the largest and most respected Sunni Muslim mosque and university, where you had even a representative of a far more radical Islamist movement, the Noor Party. So you had all the elements of society lined up against the Brotherhood, each with their own grievances. So if the Brotherhood decides that it's going to turn to violence, it's going to lose, because you have a wall-to-wall coalition against it.
All right, folks, welcome back. Steve Malzberg on the Steve Malzberg Show, hour number 2. That's Charles Krauthammer talking about the situation in Egypt, and joining us once again to talk about that. And by the way, we have Roger Stone coming up on deck. He is not only going to weigh in on Andrew Spitzer. That's good. On why am I drawing a total blank on Spitzer's Elliot Spitzer? Thank you. Elliot Spitzer's run for comptroller of New York City announced today. But he's also leading the campaign. He's the campaign manager for the former madam who used to set up the hookers for Elliot Spitzer, and she is now running against him for that position. So it's going to be a blast in a few minutes. Stay where you are. But Andrew Bostom is with us, author of The Legacy of Jihad, The Legacy of Islamic Anti-Semitism, joins us to talk about just who is in charge in Egypt right now. Again, we had over 50 dead today so far in clashes between the Muslim Brotherhood supporters of Morsi and the government, the military supporters. Hey, Andrew, how are you?
Good to be on with you again, Steve.
Well, my pleasure. Okay, so tell us about General El-Sisi, who is now overseeing Egypt's post-Morsi transition. You say that, he's hardly an anti-Morsi.
Yeah, I actually, I'm very thankful that you played that clip from Krauthammer, because I heard it live, and it just repeats these tropes, these rather superficial tropes from people, frankly, of his ilk, who simply don't understand the history of Egypt. This is a 200-year-long process of failed secularization efforts. This began under Muhammad Ali in the 1820s, not the boxer, the Egyptian despot in the 1820s. It continued under his grandson, Khedive Ismail, in the late 19th century. It actually reached its peak in terms of potentially a positive outcome in 1923. With an experiment in a constitutional parliamentary system. But everywhere the pitfall that Egyptian society refused to deal with, if it's going to become a truly pluralistic, liberty-embracing society as the Western model demonstrates, they enshrined Islam as the religion of state. Now, because Islam, not Islamism, but Islam, is an intensely political ideology which discriminates against non-Muslims, certainly, and even Muslim women, and denies basic liberties that we take for granted in the West, like freedom of speech, like freedom of conscience, etc., and incorporates absolutely horrific penalties, punishments, which really are antithetical to the dignity of the human being. Because this system has never been rejected by Egyptians, and Egyptian Muslims are symptomatic of broader problems in the Muslim world, coming to terms with the true secular society, which puts religion off in the private domain.
Well, let me ask you this, Andrew. So where are we headed here? So how can these anti-Morsi protesters that took to the streets, some say by the millions, how could they be satisfied with the interim, being installed? Are they not aware of who he is?
Listen, I think you have an economic crisis. Morsi inherited a stagnant economy. And because he absolutely had no skills whatsoever, nor did the people around him in terms of technocratic skills, which might have stopped the bleeding or certainly improved the situation, he made a bad situation worse. This is largely an economic protest. If you look at polling data repeatedly over the past 10 years, 3/4 of the Egyptian population wants a Sharia society. As many as 88% believe that apostates, those who forsake Islam, should be put to death. Now, there's no question that Morsi was a bungler in terms of how he ran the government and was very despotic himself. But that begs the question of what is the vision in the end that Egyptians have for themselves. And if we look at El-Sisi, El-Sisi is by our standards in the West a fundamentalist Muslim. His wife is reportedly fully cloaked and niqabbed. He again, according to an analyst, a respected analyst of the Egyptian military, El-Sisi really shares Morsi's ideology, but didn't like the results that Morsi was getting on the practical level and felt that he was an embarrassment in terms of the larger Islamic program.
Right. All right. So,
and needed to be removed for that reason.
So, all right. So how long do you think this transition will take? And where do you think the Muslim Brotherhood is going to wind up? I mean, we have had calls for inclusiveness from our administration here in the United States that the Muslim Brotherhood has to be involved. Now, the Muslim Brotherhood won once before.
Right.
Is it possible that the Muslim Brotherhood, that maybe even this judge who's in charge right now, or the general who's in charge right now, could run? Could another Muslim Brotherhood candidate become president of Egypt?
Look, I think first of all, it looks like, based on what's happening today, what happened over the weekend, that we're headed. The only thing seems fairly clear is that we're headed for chaos, and very bloody chaos. I think that the improvement that could be imposed on Egypt by the military, perhaps, since there was a lot of technocrats in the military, is some sort of stability or even improvement in the economy. And look, Steve, it's a very tragic and pathetic situation in Egypt. 40% of the population is growth stunted because of chronic malnutrition. A quarter of the population lives on less than $1.65 US per day, and the government struggles to provide the country with bread. These are such profound basic issues that I think that Egypt is grappling with, that we tend to focus on issues that many Egyptians at this point, in terms of freedoms, think are secondary. They want stability. And the Army may provide them with some stability. As far as aid to Egypt goes,
yeah,
though,
I had former Congressman Hoekstra on before. We only have another minute, but he said that he believes the United States should cut off all aid to Egypt because it was a military coup. What were you going to say?
You know what? I agree with him, except for this. I think that this society, like any other society of human beings, deserves wheat. Deserves humanitarian aid. We and the Russians and I believe the Ukrainians are amongst the largest providers of wheat so that they can eat in Egypt.
Right.
That sort of humanitarian aid should continue. But I absolutely agree with Representative Hoekstra. It was a disaster to have given military aid to the Muslim Brotherhood, and we should not give military aid until any government that emerges that's sort of Mubarak-like. That has some sort of stability, some sort of Western-leaning tendencies. Until that happens, if it does happen, we should not be giving any military aid to this society.
All right. Andrew, a pleasure to talk to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Andrew Bostom, author of The Legacy of Jihad and The Legacy of Islamic Anti-Semitism, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. By the way, wait till the bottom of this hour when we get an update on the trial from Adam Thompson, a defense attorney. The father, Trayvon Martin, took the stand. Wow. wow, the way it ended. I'm not even going to tell you. But first, Roger Stone's coming up. We're going to talk about Elliot Spitzer's return, the return of John Number 9, as he used to be called, the former governor of New York, now running for comptroller of New York City on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Attention hip implant patients. Are you in constant pain? Have you received a letter from your doctor about your implant? Have you had or need a revision surgery? Do you have high levels of metal, chromium, or cobalt in your blood? Over 90,000 hip implant devices have been recalled due to defects and failures resulting in revision or replacement surgery. If you have a recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920 to see if your implant is affected by the recalls. If you or a loved one has a defective or recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920. That's 800-460-0920. Protect your legal rights today. Call 800-460-0920. This is an advertisement, not valid in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. iLawsuit.com is an advertising group that represents lawyers advertising their services and is a free matching service for consumers. It is not a law firm or lawyer referral service.
Hello, my name is Fred Fleitz, and I'm the managing editor of LigNet. You've probably seen our name preceding some of the stories you read on Newsmax or heard LigNet referenced on Fox News, C-SPAN, or CNN. Perhaps you've asked yourself, what is LigNet? LigNet is an acronym for the Langley Intelligence Group Network, a private Washington, D.C.-based service that provides global intelligence, in-depth analysis, and detailed forecasting. LigNet's staff and advisors include former CIA officers, national security experts, presidential advisors, and top-level government officials from around the world. I myself held several national security posts for the U.S. government during my 25-year career with the Central Intelligence Agency, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the U.S. Department of State, and the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Our lead advisor is General Michael Hayden, the former director of the CIA. He is joined by former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations John Bolton and former chairman of the National Intelligence Council and Special Assistant to President Ronald Reagan Fritz Ehrmann, former U.S. Ambassador to Venezuela Otto Reich, and former clandestine service officer Frederick Russman. Former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee Peter Hoekstra also join our advisory board staff. Every day, our goal is to use our expertise, our resources, and our worldwide staff to take the pulse of the ever-changing political and economic landscape and the threats we face on a daily basis. Whether you are following global events for your portfolio or business, or just interested in the world around you, LigNet provides what you need to know to keep up with global events. There are many. Every day, LigNet members receive the Morning Brief, a daily email that provides summaries and links to our daily analysis to keep you up to date on LigNet's assessments. LigNet members receive unrestricted access to LigNet's secure database of global analysis. All of our special reports, previous analyses, and exclusive video interviews with intelligence insiders are available to members 24 hours a day. But you also get top-notch analysis that resembles the President's Daily Brief, the classified intelligence assessment delivered to the President of the United States every morning. LigNet also sends breaking news emails to our membership list. If there is a development of global proportions or a terror alert, our subscribers are always the first to know. I hope you now have a better understanding of what LigNet is, but more importantly, recognize how truly invaluable LigNet can be. As the old saying goes, knowledge is power.
Join LigNet for $1. Go to lignet.com.
Breaking news and breaking hearts. Aww. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
Number 9, number 9, number 9, number 9, number 9, number 9.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, a little of the Beatles. Number 9. I'm only sorry that I didn't have my usual Elliot Spitzer update theme ready, because this is the first Elliot Spitzer update I've done on the new show. But in the past, it was I'm a Steamroller Baby by James Taylor, because he is referred to himself, Elliot Spitzer has, as an effing steamroller. Okay, that's the mental state of this man. I believe, in my personal opinion, something's wrong there. Really wrong. And, of course, he was the Attorney General of the state of New York, for those of you who don't know. And then Elliot Spitzer was the governor of the state of New York. He had to resign in disgrace because he was caught using prostitutes, even going to Washington, D.C. on a train to go see a prostitute. And now he's running for comptroller of New York City. He should go on a pervert ticket with Anthony Weiner, and they could go for mayor and comptroller. Joining us now to talk about this is political consultant Roger Stone, who's not only that, but Roger is a campaign manager for the former madam who set up the hookers for Elliot Spitzer, who's now running against Spitzer for comptroller. Are you following me? Here's Roger. Hey, Roger, how are you?
Yeah, there's an important difference there, Steve, that I think needs to be explained. When it hit the fan, Spitzer broke multiple federal and state laws but paid no penalty at all. My client, Kristen Davis, went to prison for 4 months, Rikers Island, and paid her debt to society. So the inequalities in our criminal justice system between the average citizen and the wealthy political and social elite is very broad.
Oh, absolutely, and I was going to get to that. And you know, Spitzer, as Attorney General, closed down prostitute rings and this and that. He was all the high and mighty, and there's nothing wrong with that. But on hypocrisy alone, let alone breaking the laws that he broke, on hypocrisy alone, he should have been gone to jail, in my opinion.
Well, he pushed through a law in New York State which makes seeing a prostitute a felony rather than a misdemeanor. At the exact same time he was pushing this change, he was himself visiting prostitutes. He was also breaking federal money laundering laws in the way that he paid those prostitutes to hide his involvement. This is a man who, took 2 enormous illegal loans to finance his 2 campaigns for Attorney General. So if you are illegally elected, then I would argue that your being Attorney General is illegitimate. And as for the sheriff of Wall Street, that's nonsense. He was the blackmailer of Wall Street. He didn't prosecute anybody who was a big Elliot Spitzer contributor. It was selective prosecution. He would go to people who had done nothing wrong and say, you will plead guilty and pay me huge settlement fines, or I will destroy your company through leak and innuendo. Under Elliot Spitzer, the New York Attorney General's office was a criminal enterprise. He is a habitual criminal and liar. He lied under oath in a civil case about the illegal financing of his 2 campaigns, and his father, Bernard Spitzer, is essentially the Jewish Joe Kennedy. The rules don't apply for them; they're just too wealthy, Steve.
Well, okay, we're talking to Roger Stone, and by the way, stonezone.com is his blog. You could check that out, and we're going to have your client. I guess that's the proper terminology. Kristen Davis will be here on our show tomorrow at about the same time to talk about her candidacy and to talk about Elliot Spitzer. But what is going on here, Roger? I mean, first Weiner and now Spitzer. It's kind of you would think it's a sick joke. And you look at the headline of one of the papers today, I think the New York Post, "Here we ho again." I mean, it just begs that kind of headline. And why would they put their families through this?
I think in Spitzer's case, it's power lust. I mean, he enormously enjoyed abusing people when he was governor, and I think he misses the power. And therefore, it's a power trip. Now, I'm a believer. I'm a Christian. I believe in redemption. But he's yet to be punished. First, there has to be punishment, and he's had no punishment. He went back to his Fifth Avenue penthouse apartment. Kristen Davis, my friend, my client, she went to prison for 4 months, and Rikers Island for 4 months is no picnic, I assure you. But I also, since you're going to have her tomorrow, I should also point out that Kristen Davis is extraordinarily well qualified. This is someone who is a senior vice president for compliance of a major Wall Street hedge fund, someone who had graduated high school at 15, had a master's degree in business by the time she was 22, someone who, through her own business, was making millions of dollars by the time she was 25. This is someone who's enormously qualified. Elliot Spitzer has no financial management credentials.
All right, let me ask you a question. Do you think, and I'm being very serious here, do you think if there was ever a debate among the candidates, and I don't even know who else is running besides your client and Elliot Spitzer, to be honest with you, but if a debate ever takes place or a debate is proposed, do you think that A, he'll ever accept, and B, that if she's present and it's on a New York One or something, although he works for New York One or did, he probably has to step down. But my point is, will a TV station or network ever allow her in a debate? Will they take her seriously enough to debate him?
Under the campaign finance laws of New York State, when she filed for this office on June 10th, you have to, if you accept and receive public funds, then you have to be included in the debates. The real question is not whether she will be included. She will be included. The question is whether Spitzer, who is self-financing from Daddy's billions, whether he'll agree to the debate.
Right.
There's nothing that would require him. All the other candidates will show up. Stringer will have to show up. Otherwise, he cannot get his matching funds.
Oh, it's Stringer. Okay, it's Stringer from the borough president of Manhattan. All right, one more.
Right.
Is she going to get enough signatures to get on the ballot?
Yes, I think so. Remember, she's running as a Libertarian Party candidate, an independent party, a small independent party, and therefore petitioning for her does not open until July 11th, and she has 4 weeks.
Okay, next question.
We have an army of volunteers.
I look forward to talking to her tomorrow, but we got 35 seconds. Rick Perry, governor of Texas, says he will not seek an unprecedented fourth term, leaving open the door to run for president. What's your take on this?
You know, I like Rick Perry, but I'm afraid his candidacy would do about as well as it did last time.
Why?
Well, he couldn't, as you remember, he couldn't remember his own proposals for the United States.
Right, I do remember that.
He's a very solid guy who looks good on paper. He's got a great record in Texas, but I'm not sure that he's a television candidate for the television age.
Okay, fair enough. Roger, thank you, my friend. We'll speak to you, and we'll talk to Kristen tomorrow. If you could get her up here, that'd be great.
I'm going to try.
All right,
care.
Thank you. Roger Stone, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, the blockbuster testimony today, the father of Trayvon Martin on the stand. We'll tell you what happened. We're going to talk about it with defense attorney Adam Thompson right here, next on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Obama wants your money, and he's determined to get it. He wants your money to buy off unions, his Wall Street cronies, and to expand the Obama welfare nation. Well, Swiss America is determined to stop him from stealing your money. They want to send you an award-winning film, I Want Your Money, on DVD that exposes his plan. It'll help keep the government's hands off your money using gold, silver, and other hard asset strategies to protect your hard-earned money. Call today and request the DVD, I Want Your Money, normally $19.95, yours absolutely free. Let Swiss America show you how to use gold, silver, and other hard assets to protect your hard-earned money. Call now. 800-978-3907. 800-978-3907. Call Swiss America right now. Learn all about investing in gold. 800-978-3907. That's 800-978-3907. Call right now.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-625-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So cancel the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. Right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows, pause and rewind live TV, even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. 1-855-625-MY-TV. Cancel the cable, cut costs, and get more. 1-855-625-MY-TV. 1-855-625-MY-TV.
Judging from everything you hear, you think all cholesterol is bad, but that's not really true. You need a certain amount of cholesterol to maintain good health. The problem is that too much cholesterol in your blood contributes to a plaque, a fatty substance that narrows the coronary arteries that feed blood flow to your heart. Picture your coronary arteries as a 4-lane highway. If one lane becomes blocked, traffic still flows well. 2 lanes, no major problem. But if a 3rd lane becomes blocked, that spells trouble. It's the same way with your coronary arteries. And when plaque slows their blood flow to your heart, this can even cause a heart attack. The good news is that when it comes to cholesterol, lifestyle changes can pay off big time. Even a small reduction in plaque can be like opening up another highway lane. Suddenly, blood flow that was stalled can go forward again. Changing your lifestyle does not have to be hard. And in fact, here are 3 ways to help you start lowering your cholesterol. Snack on nuts. Nuts are probably one of the easiest and tastiest ways to lower cholesterol. Walnuts and almonds are among the best. Bulk up your diet with fiber. Choose whole fruits instead of a fruit juice, brown rice instead of white, and if you're eating a baked potato, be sure to leave the skin on. Choose fish. Fish contains cholesterol-fighting omega-3 fatty acids. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
And we're lucky to have you here, Dan, with us because you've been following this case since the beginning, and you actually told me this morning that you think the prosecution's in trouble.
Yeah, the prosecution's case is now in. They've presented all of their evidence. And I do not see how a jury, as a legal matter, convicts of either second-degree murder or manslaughter.
All right, that's Dan Abrams, ABC News legal analyst. I think this was on Saturday or Friday, probably on Saturday, talking about how he doesn't see, not only can the state not prove, has not proven second-degree murder. By the way, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Obligatory. But he doesn't see how a jury convicts on manslaughter. On manslaughter. This is what I've been saying all along. You know, and what's the response I get from people on the other side? Well, he was told not to get out of the car, and he disobeyed. No, he wasn't told not to get out of the car. He didn't disobey. Enough with that crap, okay? That's ridiculous. There is no evidence here to convict George Zimmerman of manslaughter or second-degree murder, notwithstanding the fact that the judge refused the defense motion on Friday to throw out the second-degree murder charge. Now, we're trying to get a hold of a defense attorney, Adam Thompson, who's supposed to be joining us right now. If we do, we got him. Okay, we're getting him. But the testimony today, you know, on Friday we had George Zimmerman's mother, Trayvon Martin's mother, and George Zimmerman's uncle all testify. Trayvon Martin's mother said the voice on the 911 call calling for help was her son. Same thing George Zimmerman's mother said. Same thing George Zimmerman's uncle said. But the uncle said he didn't even know what was going on. He heard this on the news. He heard it on TV while he was in the kitchen, and he didn't even know what the context was. He heard someone screaming on TV. He said, "That's George. That's my George. That's my nephew, George." Today, the defense, it's their first full day for the defense witnesses making their case, their presentation. They called, I believe, 5 different people, all saying under oath it was George Zimmerman crying for help on that 911 tape. Then they bring up 2 police detectives. And let's welcome in right now Adam Thompson, defense attorney who shuffles between Florida and New York. Not a bad place to shuffle between, Adam.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah,
No complaints there.
Okay, well, all right. So I'm bringing people up to date. And today, the 5 witnesses, and then the 2 police detectives, the detective in charge of the case, and the other police officer who's a female who testified for the prosecution, and then I believe wound up being better defense witnesses even on cross. They testified, the detective testified that when he played the 911 tape that had the screams for Trayvon Martin's father, he said, "Is that your son?" And Trayvon Martin's father said something to the effect of no. The female police officer was in the room. She backed up what she had heard. No. Then I'm confused. Now, maybe you could tell me. I was confused until the end, and then I got more confused because I'm trying to watch this while I'm doing my show. We're reading the closed captioning. But the defense then called Trayvon Martin's father to the stand. And I'm thinking, why are they doing that? The prosecution can't call him anymore. You already had the 2 police officers saying that he said no. Why did they bring him to the stand? And then I heard the end where they accused, I think, Mark O'Mara, the defense attorney, accused the father of telling the family attorney to lie. So fill me in on this whole why they called Trayvon Martin's father when apparently they had a win on that already. And was it because of this last question? And what does that all mean?
Well, I'm of the opinion that less is more, and once you score your points and you get the win, like you said, you leave it alone. Calling Trayvon Martin's father was a very, very risky proposition because it could open the door to have him say things that could really damage your case. You know, he's clearly not a defense witness. He's a prosecution witness. It's his son who died. So you know what he's going to say and what he's going to try to do. I think the point you wanted to get out was just that, look, this guy knows his son, loves his son, spends tons of time with his son, as much as the mother does, and yet when he heard the tape, he made it clear, that's not my kid.
Well, we should point out, Adam, and I'm sure you're aware, I saw the stepmother interviewed by Anderson Cooper on CNN. The real mother, the mother who testified, didn't spend a lot of time with Trayvon for a lot of years. According to the stepmother, she raised him. So that's for the record. The father, on the other hand, said today on the stand that he was my best friend. So the father should know better.
Absolutely, and that's going to be a huge point that the defense is going to bring up in closing arguments. I think what they were trying to do today, again, drama goes a very long way. I think at the hearing, the officers again reconfirm, hey, we interviewed the dad. It was a timely interview right after it happened. The tape is fresh. He hears it, and he knows we're conducting an investigation, trying to get the suspect and try to lead to a prosecution. And when he's asked these important questions, his answer was no. And it wasn't just one police officer that heard it. It's
2.
corroborated by another.
Okay, so let's stop. So why did they then? So good. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I try to play one sometimes on radio and TV. So you were thinking the same thing I was thinking. What the heck are they doing calling the father?
What are they doing? You hit a home run. What do you want to run around the bases twice?
Right. So why? So but you saw the testimony. You heard it. Do you think damage was done? And what was that at the end that I caught out of the corner of my eye? Did you ever tell anyone to lie? You did not? You mean to say you did not tell Ben Crump to lie? What is that?
I think the reason and the rationale behind that is they want to say, look, the dad's got to be truthful because too many people heard. He's not going to debate and argue that point that he said it wasn't him. So now the only really weak link then is the mom saying it is my son. So you kind of raise an innuendo by saying, hey, Trayvon's dad, did you speak to the lawyers and say, let's make the testimony all match up a little bit? Did you tell them, this witness may say this witness may say that. If it all doesn't, go together, you make it fit a little better so the puzzle looks a little cleaner. And if a jury thinks that, then they may think, hey, maybe the civil lawyers got together with the family, had a powwow, went through what the testimony was going to be, and they said, you know what? You can't go in the room and say you're not sure it was your son. You really don't know if it was your son. You got to say it was your son.
All right. So again, because you know more than I. You were watching it, and I was watching with one eye. So you don't think Crump? Well, Crump was not allowed to stay in the courtroom, the civil attorney for the family, during the trial because apparently he was going to be a witness. Now, to the best of my knowledge, recollection, he was not called by the prosecution. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you think now that Amara has something concrete that he's going to call Crump and Crump is going to say, yeah, he did ask me to do something and he just lied under oath? Is that possible?
Anything's possible. I would really doubt that that's going to happen because conversations between a client and an attorney are privileged.
Okay.
And I really doubt he's going to take the witness stand and throw his client under the bus over a conversation that would happen behind closed doors that no one would know or be able to document.
Okay.
So he's just going to say, no one ever said to lie or make up a story or make it fit. But, I just think they wanted to give the inference to a jury that maybe such type of conduct went on. And, hey, listen, this is the theater of law. If you're going to get a jury thinking about it, or you can get a jury talking about it in a jury room, that's just another way to peel back, that level of reasonable doubt.
Gotcha.
And if there's just any reasonable doubt, they could acquit.
Well, theoretically, they're supposed to acquit. You're absolutely right. We're talking to Adam Thompson, a defense attorney from New York and Florida here on the Steve Malzberg Show. And not only were there the 5 witnesses and the 2 police officers, the 5 witnesses who said it was George Zimmerman's voice, and we're talking about all kinds of people, including a former military person who didn't want to testify because it brought back all kinds of horrific memories, but he recognized those screams. We also had the 2 police officers who verified that Trayvon Martin's father said it was not my son's voice. But we also had an athletic trainer. The prosecution brought up that George Zimmerman told actually the woman, the medical technician, brought up that she had previously seen George Zimmerman. He had told her that he did some MMM training or MM whatever the heck it is, fighting. Long story short, the trainer, George Zimmerman's trainer, said this guy did not take this course or these classes to learn to fight. He did it to lose weight. He lost 50 to 70 pounds. He was way overweight. He's a terrible fighter. He's not a qualified fighter. He couldn't hold his own with anybody. I mean, there again, more ammunition for the defense.
Sure. I mean, a lot of the points made by the prosecution were much to do about nothing. There's many people that take, these boot camp courses, and they're very strenuous things. Some of them involve learning kickboxing or boxing or mixed martial arts, whatever it is. And it's just to lose weight or get in shape. It's not like you're taking it to become some, serious caged fighter. And that's what I mean. When the prosecution is going to be presenting points like that, and then they fall flat because they really don't have substance behind them, a jury starts to question the overall credibility of the whole case. If it's just like a witness. If a witness testifies and you disbelieve part of the testimony, particularly on a material topic or a material point, the judge is going to instruct them, and you could discount the entire testimony that they offer from beginning to end. And that's what's going to happen a lot here, from Rachel Gentile, who said a lot of stuff that she lacked credibility on and she came off so poorly in front of a jury, to other witnesses. It's just, when you take it all together and you fill in all the gaps, it's not a strong case.
All right,
and I can't even see how they even brought a second-degree murder charge.
Well, I don't understand how this judge did not throw that out when upon the motion made by the defense on Friday. I mean, I wasn't expecting her to.
That never happens. I mean, the judge always punts.
They do? Okay. But this judge. Now let's talk about Rachel Gentile for a second. And I'm sure, I am sure that the defense could have thrown the dice and asked the mother and now the father about your son's use of the term crazy-ass cracker, but I think they're going to let that stand on their own. This witness was so disrespectful that it's my opinion that if this, well, let me ask you, and the media crying for this girl. Oh, she's only 19. Oh, it must have been so hard. Only 19. Men go off to war and die at 19. So this only 19 nonsense was just that nonsense in my mind. But she was disrespectful. She made faces. I mean, to me, a judge who was in control of her courtroom and a fair judge would have reprimanded this woman and said, hey, cut it out or you'll face contempt of court. Show respect. But that never happened.
It was a completely poor presentation. You would think for a case that's so in the media and so scrutinized under the microscope that every single radio and TV show is talking about it, that this is the star witness. This is the last person that heard Trayvon Martin speak on the phone. You would think she would have came in with all the bells and whistles, totally prepared, ready for the questions that she was going to be asked, and give very succinct concise answers and be ready for cross. And most important, textbook 101 law, prepare her for the basics as a witness. Proper decorum, how to respond, be polite, always maintain your composure. It was completely the opposite of that. This would have been a course on what not to do with a witness.
But do you agree that let's put it this way, in other circumstances, this 19-year-old woman would have been read the riot act by the judge?
I think because this is being televised, I think she's keeping a hands-off approach and basically not really taking that stand with any of the witnesses, and she's trying to keep everything clean in front of the jury so that when something comes up, she calls for a sidebar,
right.
Will talk to the attorneys. She's not really looking to create a situation where there could be appellate issues and things like that. So she's trying to keep it clean. I think she's doing that to both sides. But in general, if you normally have a case and it wasn't televised like this, you had a witness that would act in that manner or with that kind of decorum, I think certainly a judge would say something.
All right, one more question for you. Based on if the trial ended today, is there any way that if the jury does what the jury is supposed to do, that this man spends a day in jail?
Never, not going to happen. The odds of him getting convicted are like the Powerball. But let me say one more time, never.
All right, well, I hope you're right, because I have felt that the evidence as it came leaking out even before the trial had to raise a reasonable doubt, and you're right, and the prosecution trying to make points, you know, the father, two cops just said, the father said, no, it's not my son's voice, and the prosecution gets up on cross and is like, I'm sure you miss your son. Well, you know what? That's nice. That's sympathy, but that doesn't address what you said to the detectives.
What does your son have to do with who is the initial aggressor, and did you defend yourself against deadly force?
Right. Well,
that's the issue.
Absolutely. And if another misnomer is that the injuries were small. You know better than I. In Florida, as was described by the defense witness, stand your ground or self-defense. You don't even have to have a blow to perceive you're in bodily, grave danger or severe bodily harm. They don't even have to land a blow. So the media has distorted this whole case. Hopefully the jury will understand it. Hey, nice talking to you, Adam. We'll have you back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Adam Thompson, ladies and gentlemen, criminal defense attorney from Florida and New York. Yes, I was hearing and reading the call, but when I saw, first of all, I couldn't understand. It's nice to have your opinion reinforced by an attorney, because I'm saying, wait a minute. They got two police officers who testified that when asked 2 days after the event, the killing, when they played him the 911 call, is that your son's voice? Two police officers testified he said no. And the prosecution didn't call him. So the defense calls him? I couldn't understand why. I still don't understand why, to be perfectly honest with you. Let it stand. Now you had him say, well, I never said no. Why even bring that up? Again, and bringing up and saying, did you ever lie or ask anyone to lie about whatever, saying that, we'll take care of the tape or something. And he said no. And he said, you never asked your attorney, Ben Crump, to lie? And I'm thinking, he's going to call Ben Crump. But like Adam Thompson said, attorney-client privilege comes in. And unless this was done in front of a bunch of people, then it could have happened, and Crump doesn't have to even admit it. He could just say attorney-client privilege. So I don't know. If we see Crump come to the stand, we'll know something's up. But otherwise, I still am not sure why they called the father to the stand when they had this victory already in their pocket. Okay, we're coming back. George W. Bush gave an interview to, I think it was ABC. I want you to hear some of it from Africa when the Steve Malzberg Show continues.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names. Really? Yeah. They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-908-1254, 800-908-1254.
Heart disease is the biggest killer disease in America, and this doesn't surprise me. We are addicted to starches, sugars, fatty meats, and salt. People who live in countries with little heart disease eat very differently. One way some people stay heart healthy is by following what is known as the caveman or Stonehenge diet, so named because of its similarity to the way our prehistoric ancestors ate. People who follow this type of diet live off local fruits and root vegetables and get their protein mostly from fish and wild game they shoot themselves. Now, since most of us don't hunt or fish for all our protein, here are some simple tips on how you can start to eat like a caveman, modern day style. First, fill up on fruits and vegetables. Eat them first and you'll be less hungry. Feast on fish, which is rich in nutrients but not in calories. Choose fatty fish like mackerel, herring, sardines, and salmon, which are rich in heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids. Get out and go for a walk. Remember, our ancestors were hunters and gatherers, so they didn't spend their time sitting in front of a TV or computer all day. If you live more like a caveman or a cave woman, your heart will love you for it. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thank you for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com. We're in the midst of an obesity epidemic, and I'm not surprised. The statistics on obesity mirror an increasing trend of eating out or ordering in. In fact, some people dine out every night, but eating in restaurants is one of the biggest enemies of your heart. When you're in a restaurant, you don't really know what you're getting, and the calorie counts of many restaurant dishes are astronomical. In fact, some single dishes contain more calories than we should eat in an entire day. Eating in fast food restaurants is even worse. A diet of hamburgers, French fries, and shakes constitutes a fast lane to the emergency room. If you really want to help your heart, get in the habit of cooking simple meals at home. Here are 3 easy tips that will make your food taste better than even the best restaurant. Choose the best fruit in season. Your local farmer's market is a great place to start. It will probably still cost less than that pie you were thinking of buying. Get in the habit of using fresh herbs. You can use them in egg white omelets or dust them on the fish you grill or bake. And for a light dessert, choose a square or 2 of dark chocolate that you and your spouse can enjoy. There are lots of ways to make your heart healthy, but there are also lots of ways to damage it. That's why I wrote Fix It, Dr. Crandall's 90-day program. In it, I'll tell you how to kickstart your metabolism every day, how to pick the best diet for you, how to stop hunger from sabotaging your diet, the 7 superfoods for your heart. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute.
Microphones hot. Satellite link established. Studio lights illuminated. Cameras rolling. Audio and video encoders firing 1s and 0s. Internet stream. Streaming. The most technology advanced radio show is on the air. Here's the captain of this enterprise, Steve Malzberg.
There's something that you and President Obama have in common, and that is that you are both, it seems to me, a lot more popular in Africa than you are back home.
Well, I thought you were going to say because we married extraordinary women.
Well, that's true, too.
Great.
What do you make of that? You're greeted like something of a rock star here. He had these massive crowds like you've seen.
Yeah.
I mean, what's behind that?
We both represent a great country. People admire America, and Africans are thrilled with the idea that American taxpayers funded programs that save lives.
One of those programs, the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, PEPFAR, which President Bush signed into law 10 years ago, is now celebrating a remarkable milestone. 1 million African babies born HIV-free thanks to programs preventing mother-to-child transmission. Another 7 million with HIV are getting the drugs they need to survive.
All right, that's Jonathan Karl doing a report with George W. Bush when he was in Africa. And let's go to cut number 12.
I think this is one of his crowning achievements because of the commitment of the Bush administration and the American people. Millions of people's lives have been saved.
President Obama said this is one of your crowning achievements. You agree with that?
That's nice of him. I view it as an achievement of American generosity. And it has been an extraordinarily successful program, and I was honored to be a part of it. One reason we're in Africa is because we have found out and discovered that women are dying of cervical cancer. They've been saved from HIV through antiretroviral drugs, yet they're dying of cervical cancer. We think it's needless, and we're trying to do something about it.
Yep, now he's there fighting cervical cancer, rebuilding a clinic where women could get screened for cervical cancer in Zambia. And here, I want you to listen to the next cut, 14.
Meg, I know you're not into psychoanalysis. These are your critics who say that all this Africa work you're doing, that a big part of it is you're trying to make up for mistakes you made in Iraq or elsewhere, and this is...
That's
you
fine.
say to that?
Let them continue to babble.
Not true.
I'm trying to think of the proper word. Absurd psychobabble.
I love it. I love it. Absurd psychobabble. I mean, any opportunity I get to let you hear, and they tried to press him on gay marriage and this and that, and he said, I'm not in politics anymore. I'm not going down that road, Jonathan. I'm not going to talk about this stuff. I'm out of the game. I'm out of politics. Forget about it. So anytime we get a chance to bring you George W. Bush and make your heart ache for a leader like that, compared to what we have, I'll do it on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Attention hip implant patients. Are you in constant pain? Have you received a letter from your doctor about your implant? Have you had or need a revision surgery? Do you have high levels of metal, chromium, or cobalt in your blood? Over 90,000 hip implant devices have been recalled due to defects and failures resulting in revision or replacement surgery. If you have a recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-1530 to see if your implant is affected by the recalls. If you or a loved one has a defective or recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-1530. That's 800-460-1530. Protect your legal rights today. Call 800-460-1530.
This is an advertisement, not valid in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. iLawsuit.com is an advertising group that represents lawyers advertising their services and is a free matching service for consumers. It is not a law firm or lawyer referral service.
This is a referral service. Calls will be routed to an independent referral insurance agency. Do you know the #1 cause of bankruptcy? No, it's not losing your job or running up credit card debt. It's not even divorce. It's medical costs. If you and your family don't have health insurance, just one serious illness or accident could be financially devastating. But now there's good news, really good news. A health insurance hotline has been established to provide health insurance for all Americans, even uninsured Americans with pre-existing conditions. Now anyone can get health insurance even if you have a pre-existing medical condition. I repeat, now anyone can get health insurance coverage. Call now for a free no-obligation quote on affordable health plans available to you. Again, And this is a free hotline for anyone, even if you have pre-existing conditions. Protect you and your family from sudden unexpected medical costs. Call the free health insurance hotline right now at 1-800-910-3470. That's 1-800-910-3470. Call 1-800-910-3470.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. We begin in Egypt, where violence between Islamist supporters of ousted President Mohamed Morsi, the Egyptian military, and anti-government protesters continues to escalate. Late Monday, Egyptian state TV aired video that appears to show Morsi supporters opening fire against soldiers during one of the clashes in the streets of Cairo. Meanwhile, sources within the Muslim Brotherhood Party say at least 42 people were killed when the army cracked down on Morsi supporters during morning prayers outside the barracks where he is being held. And according to Asiana Airlines, the pilot in control at the time of that crash in San Francisco is a veteran with nearly 10,000 hours of flight time, but he was new to the Boeing 777 and landing at San Francisco's International Airport for the first time. Investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board continue to comb through the wreckage. They say the plane was coming in too slow when its tail slammed into the seawall at the front of the runway. Analysis of the flight data recorders show the pilots tried to speed up, but it was too late.
A call to initiate a go-around occurred 1.5 seconds before impact.
Meanwhile, investigators expect to interview the crew over the next couple of days, and the two 16-year-old girls from China who were killed in the crash, well, they were headed to a summer camp here in the United States, and now San Francisco's fire chief says there's a possibility that an emergency vehicle rushing to the scene may have hit and killed one of those girls. Also, doctors say most of the 182 injured passengers were sitting in the back of the plane. Some of them may now be paralyzed.
What we did see are a huge amount of spine fractures, some of them which include paralysis.
And the George Zimmerman murder trial is now in its third week. Jurors heard more from the defense team Monday, including testimony from some of Zimmerman's friends. The prosecution rested its case late last week with both the victim, Trayvon Martin's mother, and the defendant, George Zimmerman's mother, claiming it was their son screaming for help on that 911 call. And Secretary of State John Kerry's wife, Teresa Heinz Kerry, has been upgraded to fair condition at Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston. Heinz Kerry had been at the couple's Nantucket vacation home over the weekend when she became ill, reportedly suffering some seizure-like symptoms. She was stabilized at a local emergency room and then flown to Boston, where she is being treated now, and was initially listed in critical condition. And coming up next on your Newsmax Now update, Canada's Prime Minister calls it a war zone, the latest on that deadly train crash in Quebec, and why dozens of people are still missing. Plus, a Newsmax exclusive interview from Cairo, business and political leader Ahmad Saeed explains why this military takeover is not a coup, but instead a revolution. That's next.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at AftershockVideo.com. AftershockVideo.com. In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at Aftershock911.com. Aftershock911.com.
Heart disease is the biggest killer disease in America, and this doesn't surprise me. We are addicted to starches, sugars, fatty meats, and salt. People who live in countries with little heart disease eat very differently. One way some people stay heart healthy is by following what is known as the caveman or Stonehenge diet, so named because of its similarity to the way our prehistoric ancestors ate. People who follow this type of diet live off local fruits and root vegetables and get their protein mostly from fish and wild game they shoot themselves. Now, since most of us don't hunt or fish for all our protein, here are some simple tips on how you can start to eat like a caveman, modern day style. First, fill up on fruits and vegetables. Eat them first and you'll be less hungry. Feast on fish, which is rich in nutrients but not in calories. Choose fatty fish like mackerel, herring, sardines, and salmon, which are rich in heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids. Get out and go for a walk. Remember, our ancestors were hunters and gatherers, so they didn't spend their time sitting in front of a TV or computer all day. If you live more like a caveman or a cave woman, your heart will love you for it. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thank you for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
And welcome back. Dozens of people are still missing after a train derailed in Quebec, Canada. 5 people are confirmed dead, at least, in that crash, but authorities say that number is likely to climb higher. The train was carrying tanker cars filled with oil when it went off the track Saturday. At least 5 of the cars exploded on impact. Canada's Prime Minister Stephen Harper says the site looks like a war zone. And as violence and protests continue to mount in the streets of Egypt, we speak with Ahmad Saeed, an Egyptian political and business leader, during a Newsmax exclusive interview. He says this uprising is not a military coup, but a big revolution with broad support among the Egyptian people.
Yes, it is critical. Yes, the army is standing in the streets, but the army is also not alone. It is supported by mass protests against Morsi.
And for the latest on the situation in Egypt and to see more of our exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax.com. This has been your Newsmax Now update for July the 8th. I'm John Bachman. Now here's the Steve Malzberg Show in New York.
Are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we should have this some soap opera music. Welcome back to the third hour of the Steve Malzberg Show today. We need some soap opera music for the continuing saga of Edward Snowden, who apparently is still living either, I guess, off a plane somewhere outside of an airport in Russia, and joining us once again to continue bringing us up to date on the ramifications of the saga of Edward Snowden. Of course, he is the NSA leaker. He's wanted by the United States government for a violation of our federal laws. Some say he's committed treason. Of course, the warrant, I don't believe, charges treason, but several countries have been approached by him seeking asylum, and a couple have acquiesced and said, sure, come on in. We now have Venezuela. Russia telling Snowden that Venezuela might be your last chance, so you better hightail it out of here and get over to Venezuela. But now we have another entry into the mix, and it's Cuba. Joining us now to once again bring us up to date on what all this means and what the legal ramifications are is international attorney, senior principal at McNabb Associates, Douglas McNabb. Hey, Doug, how are you, sir?
I am excellent. What a great book this is going to make.
Well, I hope you're going to write it, and I hope if you do, we get the first interview. I want to see the movie. You could play yourself in the movie.
I think I would love to.
All right, so he's still. We're led to believe, and there's no information to the contrary, at least public information, that he's still in the same place he was, I guess, 2 weeks ago when that plane took off from Hong Kong and landed in Russia. He's never been admitted into the country. He's still sitting there, in the unofficial, the never wasteland kind of, which isn't really Russia, and he's sitting there and he's still weighing his options, which apparently are narrowing. And one of the members of the member of the Russian Parliament who speaks for the Kremlin yesterday basically said publicly, "You better go to Venezuela."
Well, I think I mentioned to you in one of our earlier conversations that at some point I think that President Putin is going to feel that Mr. Snowden is outstayed his welcome, and I think that that's very rapidly approaching. Venezuela, as you noted, has offered Mr. Snowden asylum, as has now Bolivia. Cuba is not offering asylum, but is saying basically, we think that it probably would be a good idea that Mr. Snowden is one who would qualify for that. What confuses me is I don't understand why Mr. Snowden hasn't accepted Venezuelans' offer. I know that he submitted applications to 21 states, including Russia. He then submitted 6 additional asylum applications, and they don't want to disclose who the 6 countries are for fear that the U.S. would get in the way of that. But he now has an offer to go to Venezuela, a country that he submitted an application to, and as you said, Moscow saying, "Listen, you need to take it." But he hasn't accepted anything as far as we know. His problem may very well be, look, I'm in the transit zone in Moscow. How do I get to Caracas? If he's in A, how do I get to B? Now, Steve, I must tell you, if I knew exactly how he could get from point A to point B, I'm not going to tell you because I can't.
Well, couldn't he? Well, but if, in other words, if a country offers him asylum, and he said if he goes to Venezuela, and they tell someone in the airport, okay, everyone knows he's there, or wherever the heck he is. All right, he wants to go to Venezuela. Don't they escort him to a plane? Doesn't Venezuela send a plane or something?
Well, actually, that's 2 different questions. One, does he get on a commercial flight?
Right.
Or 2, does he get on a presidential plane? Both of which are very, very interesting, and this is where I think the movie is going to come into play. If he wants to get on a commercial flight, he's going to have a refugee travel document that would allow him to purchase the ticket and then get on to the commercial flight.
I love it. Yeah.
And it does that. If Venezuela has offered him asylum, and if he accepts the asylum offer, then presumably Venezuela would provide the refugee travel document where he could get on a plane. If Venezuela sends a presidential plane to pick him up, then he's not going to need to buy a ticket. He's just going to get on board. Now, what happens? What happens if he's on a commercial flight versus a presidential flight, and he's traveling from Moscow to, let's say, Caracas?
Right.
If he's on a commercial flight, is that commercial flight going to fly over either U.S. airspace, that's going to be a problem, or European airspace where the European state denies the plane's entry into that airspace, as we saw with President
Bolivia,
Bolivia, yeah. So that's going to be presumably he's going to have to get a flight that doesn't go over that airspace. So I guess maybe international waters, international airspace. On the other hand, if he's in a presidential plane, same thing. If he was on a Venezuelan plane, hypothetically, and he flew over U.S. airspace, could the U.S. send up jets and force him down? Yeah, from a legal standpoint, they could do that. Might Venezuela treat that as an act of war? Yeah, that could be a problem because the Latin countries were not at all happy with what they believe the U.S. did to down his plane in Vienna, Austria, to refuel.
Right.
So if the U.S. sends jets up to force the presidential plane down at Kennedy Airport, might the Latin countries then send some of their jets to protect the Venezuelan? Oh, this could get really bad.
Yeah. All right. Now let me ask you one final question. If you were advising him, and you could tell me why too. We only have about a minute left. Would you, if Cuba, and Cuba has not, but if Castro said you could come here, would you advise him to go to Venezuela or go to Cuba?
Can't do that. Pre-travel advice.
Good answer. I like that. All right. And one other thing, do you think that President Obama would go back on his word not to scramble jets for a 28-year-old hacker if the opportunity presented itself?
I would be shocked, but this story is a continuing shock. I don't see the president doing that because of the potential ramifications that we could see from this.
All right, Douglas, as always, thank you. And if we're still, if he's in the air or he lands in a country, we'll have you back. And if not, we'll have you back next week if he's still in the airport. Hope he's got a lot of bathroom facilities there. All right, thank you very much, Douglas McNabb, international attorney here on the Steve Malzberg Show, principal at McNabb Associates. Ladies and gentlemen, breaking news as we speak. The judge in the George Zimmerman murder trial has decided to allow evidence from the toxicology report on Trayvon Martin to be admitted into evidence, which means the jury will be made aware that marijuana, TCP, was found in Trayvon Martin's blood the night he was killed. This is huge. It's a new ruling that will allow evidence from the toxicology report. The judge earlier had said no, that this was not admissible. But now she's decided, I'm not sure why the change, that his marijuana use and the marijuana found in his system on that night will be admissible, as it should be. For crying out loud, a man's life is at stake here. And the question is whether or not he'll spend the rest of his life in prison. Should we not know? Hey, if George Zimmerman was high on drugs, we'd know about that. Should we not know, since a fight took place and the key is who started it, what happened? Should we not know that there was drugs found in the body of Trayvon Martin? Because all they're told is that he had a bag of Skittles and a jar of iced tea. We're coming back, folks, and when we do come back, Stephen Moore, the Wall Street Journal, the jobs numbers from last Friday, we'll talk about them, and we'll talk about who the second biggest employer in the United States of America is. You may be shocked to find out on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction to alcohol or drugs, then you must listen to this message, because there is hope. No matter what addiction you or your loved one is coping with, you are just one phone call away from real help. Recovery Hotline makes the healing process simple and affordable by matching people to fully certified and experienced inpatient facilities that are right for their personal situations. Call 800-668-1286 now. Don't wait another day. Money does not have to be an issue. Most insurance is accepted. Just call 800-668-1286 today. Recovery Hotline's mission is to help you or someone you love begin the healing process and get back a healthy and sober life. And we can even help with family interventions and travel arrangements. One phone call is all it takes to get back the life you or your loved one deserves. The call is free. The help is real. Call 800-668-1286. That's 800-668-1286. 800-668-1286. Again, 800-668-1286.
3 a.m. and you're up again for the third time. It's not just affecting your sleep, it's interrupting your daily life. Frequent trips to the bathroom due to an aging prostate is a common concern, but you can now do something about it with Prostate Revive. Doctor-formulated Prostate Revive is an all-natural dietary supplement packed with 15 powerful ingredients, focused on improving prostate health by targeting the two main sources of prostate concerns, rogue testosterone and inflammation. And now, in this limited time radio offer, you can try Prostate Revive absolutely free. That's a free bottle, a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, risk-free. Plus, if you call right now, you'll also receive our free report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. Call now for details on getting your free bottle, plus our doctor's report. Call 1-800-659-REVIVE. That's 1-800-659-REVIVE. Don't be a victim of an aging prostate. Start getting the sleep you need and get your life back with Prostate Revive. Claim your risk-free bottle now at 1-800-659-REVIVE.
According to the FBI Uniform Crime Report, there are over 5,000 robberies every day. Your home could be at risk of being burglarized. Don't put your loved ones and valuables in jeopardy. For just over $1 per day, your home can be protected from break-ins, fire, and more. Get the latest home security technology from Protect Your Home, your ADT authorized dealer. Over 6 million households sleep better at night with ADT monitored home security. What's more, Protect Your Home is offering you their latest equipment, an $850 value, absolutely free for qualified customers. Protect your loved ones and home today. Call now for licenses and to find out more. The call is free, 1-800-949-8201. That's 1-800-949-8201. Again, 1-800-949-8201. $99 installation charge, 36-month monitoring agreement at $36.99 per month. Payment by credit card or electronic bank account charge. For new homeowner customers with satisfactory credit history only. Local permit fees may be required. Certain restrictions apply. Cannot be combined with any other offer.
I love you, son. So it hurts when you say I hate you. I'm your mother. I'm tired of you disrespecting me when you don't get your way. I work hard to make sure you have everything you need. I should be able to ask you to get out of bed in the morning without a fight. So from now on, things are going to be different. I ordered the Total Transformation Program. We're not going to scream and fight anymore. I'm going to tell you what to do in a different way, and you're going to do it. You're not going to call me ugly names anymore, and if you do, you're going to get consequences that'll keep you from calling me ugly names. We're not going to do things your way anymore, son. We're going to do things the Total Transformation way.
Get the Total Transformation free. Just order the program, tell us how it works for you, and you can keep it for free. Call 1-888-577-9520. 1-888-577-9520. Call now. Call 1-888-577-9520. 1-888-577-9520.
Sure, Steve might be a bit of a hypochondriac, but he never gets sick of breaking news. This is the Steve Malzberg Show. Call Steve at 1-855-777-9660. That's 1-855-777-9660. Here's Steve.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the economy is roaring back. We had 190,000 jobs created in the month of June. Those numbers came out Friday, in case you missed it on the 4th of July weekend. Everything's good. The market's up another 88 points today on the Dow, and everything is hunky-dory. Chad, don't get excited. I say hunk, Chad gets excited. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but, you know. Anyway, all right, but here's the problem, folks. Behind those numbers are the facts. And Friday's numbers show that part-time jobs are at an all-time high in the United States of America. And as we welcome in our guest, Steve Moore from the Wall Street Journal, I tell you, Steve, that more Americans are now working now than ever at any point before part-time. And the second largest employer in the United States of America behind Walmart is a temp agency.
Yeah, these are amazing statistics, aren't they, Steve? And what we found was that in the last jobs report that a lot of people in Washington were celebrating, every one of those new jobs on net, every one of them, Steve, was a 20, 25, 28-hour-a-week job. They weren't full-time work. And it's a hard time to raise your family and pay your bills and your medical expenses and your gasoline bills and your grocery bills when you don't have a full-time job. And this is a big, big problem with the current American economy.
It's up, and the number is up 3% from June of last year. 3% more people are now working part-time jobs, and that's out of necessity, and it's scary.
These are people who, let's be clear about this, there are a lot of Americans who work part-time jobs because they want to.
Right.
Someone, maybe a spouse who wants to work 15 or 20 hours a week, that's fine, and we want that kind of flexibility in the labor force. The problem here is that we've got millions of Americans who want a full-time job, need a full-time job, and can't find one. And you mentioned the point that I think is critical here, which is a lot of federal policies, including Obamacare, are encouraging federal employers around the country to cap their workers at 30 hours a week because of the Obamacare law.
Steve, I was just watching, I don't know what station it was yesterday. Oh, yes, I do. It was Fox News Channel. It was John Stossel, and it was late at night, and they run his show on the weekends there. And he had on the owner, this owner of a restaurant chain, and he was talking about how, look, facts are facts. I am going to have to take people from full time, put them on part-time, and they're going to have to go find another part-time job to supplement the hours they're losing because of Obamacare. That's and we haven't even seen that full effect yet.
Well, that's right. And, because the law, everybody's confused about what's happening with this law now, Steve.
Right.
Because, it's been suspended a year, but employers certainly didn't know that a couple of weeks ago, so they were preparing for this barrage of new regulations and mandates, and what they were doing was they were cutting back on their workforce. Now, I gave a talk not long ago to a group of people who own franchises to Burger Kings and Wendy's and Red Lobsters and Applebee's, and the fast food restaurant industry and the restaurant industry generally hires about 20 million Americans. So it's, you want to talk about major employers in this country.
Right.
And I can't tell you how many of these people told the same thing to me that they told John Stossel. I am not going to hire more than 50 workers. And in fact, some of them have 60 or 70 say I'm cutting back to 50. And others said, I'm not hiring people more than 30 hours a week.
It is insane. And Steve, there's another report out today. The numbers of Americans getting food aid from the federal government is 101 million, which is more than our private sector workers in this country. That's staggering.
Steve, that is a frightening statistic. I had not heard that. I knew that we had 50 million or so on food stamps, and then we got a lot on school lunch and other nutrition
101
programs.
million.
101 million is look, at some point, you do become a nation of people in the wagon, and you wonder who's left to pull the wagon.
No, that's absolutely true. So, you and I've been privileged to talk to you over so many years, and we're still in the same mess, right? And again, what we always come down to uncertainty. Regulations, uncertainty of regulations, uncertainty of pending regulations, and then the uncertainty of regulations we don't even know about yet, and taxes, etc. And that's where we are right now, correct?
Yeah, we are. In fact, I was on Fox News this morning talking about that. That when you talk about it's today, it's not just the tax burden, which is over $1 trillion in terms of income taxes, and then another $1 trillion for payroll taxes. Then you have $1.5 trillion hidden tax, which is regulations. Of course, what we've been talking about with Obamacare, those are regulations, right, Steve? Those are rules that require these firms to provide these generous health care benefits, and so they say, okay, the hell with you, I'm not going to hire anybody at all.
Right.
You can require me to pay the benefits, but you can't require me to hire somebody. And the people who get hurt here the most are the people at the bottom end.
Absolutely.
The people at the bottom, because those are the ones who don't have the jobs that they so desperately need in this flimsy economy right now.
Steve, I appreciate talking to you always, and thank you for your time, sir.
See you soon.
Take care. Steve Moore, ladies and gentlemen, Wall Street Journal. Very frightening. Very frightening. And, this is kind of like the new normal, and it just keeps getting worse, and we get desensitized, and the people on TV keep telling us, 190,000 jobs, yeah! It's getting worse and worse and worse. When we come back, John Rocker, former Major League pitcher, joins us to talk about the Trayvon Martin-George Zimmerman case on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax Magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary, Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today in this free offer. We are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax Magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th Birthday Commemorative Edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax Magazine every month.
A tragic fire, a break-in, a fall. Look, accidents and emergencies really do happen. The difference between life and death could be as simple as the push of a button. That's where Medical Guardian comes in. Are you afraid that something tragic may happen with no one around to help? What if you or your elderly loved one had a fall and lay for hours or even days before any help arrived? What if it was just too late? You don't have to live in fear that something terrible could happen. It's time you discovered Medical Guardian. Life-saving help at the push of a button. Get the peace of mind you need for yourself and your loved ones. Call 800-550-3470 right now. Be one of the first 100 callers and get your first month of Medical Guardian free. 800-550-3470. Call now and get your first month for free. The help you need is at your fingertips. Ensure your safety today with Medical Guardian. 800-550-3470. That's 800-550-3470.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
The motion for acquittal in the George Zimmerman trial has been denied by the judge, Deborah Nelson. Good afternoon. This is Ed Schultz reporting live from New Orleans at the Essence Festival, continuing coverage of the George Zimmerman trial here on MSNBC.
All right, that's the lunacy. That is the George Zimmerman trial. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. That's Ed Schultz coming out of a break or going on, I guess, on his MSNBC show. It had to be Friday. He must have been filling in for someone because he's on weekends. Announcing right after, because I was watching the trial itself, the judge turning down the defense motion to throw out the second-degree murder charge, and the idiots in New Orleans behind him are applauding the fact that the judge refused to throw it out. I want you to hear one more cut, which is very speaks to what our next guest, John Rocker, has written about. This is cut 22.
Well, I think it's race, and I think it's actually not in the trial, but it's in us as the American people, because remember, the media initially libeled Mr. Zimmerman by making it out to be this was some white guy who attacked this black teenager with a hoodie and all that. And then it turns out, well, he might have been, in fact, a neighborhood watch guy who was very concerned and profiling. That's possible, but it's not necessarily racial because, in fact, he has some Hispanic background alike. What concerns me in this is I think the fascination with the American mind has forced it so that now conservatives say they're pro-Zimmerman, liberals say they're pro-Martin, and I'm thinking, wait a second, so it's black and white, and I just think it's sort of the most primitive, low-level of racial division that's being played on by media.
You're just disturbed by that?
Well, I think it fuels that kind of racial anger and misunderstanding and misrepresentation.
All right, that's Juan Williams on the Fox News Channel with my buddy Eric Shawn over the weekend. And let's welcome in our friend John Rocker, who is former Major League Baseball pitcher and author of Scars and Strikes. Scars and Strikes. Hey, John, how are you?
I'm good this afternoon, Steve. How you doing
Good,
today?
good to talk to you again. Okay, so you wrote a piece, and I think you probably agree with Juan Williams to a certain extent.
For one of the very few times I actually do agree with.
Well, talk about it. I mean, and you also talk about in your piece the kind of the double standard here between. Go ahead.
You know, it's media. You know, you look at it from several different areas. Obviously, media is generally controlled by 80% of media is controlled by liberals. So you got, in my mind, two things at work here. First and foremost, I think you've got this agenda the liberals you're continually trying to push of the great white oppressive, the minority victim. Initially saw a guy named George Zimmerman. I think a lot of this thing could have been averted with one simple change with the whole factor of George Zimmerman. If he was simply known as Jorge Zimmerman, this whole saga would have ceased to exist many, many months ago. But I think you've got this great narrative, this great agenda that, once again, the 80% of media that is controlled by the liberal faction are seeing one more opportunity to further that agenda. What they're looking to actually accomplish with the furtherance of that agenda, I'm not really quite sure. I'm not even sure they're really quite sure. And the second part is ratings. I mean, this thing is playing out like a daytime soap opera, a daytime reality show. They're loving the ratings, loving the propaganda, loving the additional spin they can put on it, just citing one side of America, conservative America, against liberal America once again, and just further driving a wedge between the people of America.
Yeah, no, absolutely, John. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And you know, again, you think if we had a fair media, the media would be telling us and would have told us after this testimony by Rachel Gentile, after she said that Trayvon Martin referred to George Zimmerman to her as a crazy-ass cracker, and then was questioned by the defense. Is this the kind of language you use to describe white people? Is this the kind of language the people around you use, the people you hang out with use? And yes.
Admittedly so, yeah.
And what did we hear? What did I hear from liberal left-wing commentator after liberal left-wing commentator? Oh, you see, what white people don't understand is the culture. This isn't racism. This is just the culture. They don't understand Rachel Gentile. She's part Haitian, and they don't understand the culture. That is a line of hogwash in my view.
Because right then and there, their agenda has got a severe crack that has been levied in it, so they have to excuse away that in order to keep further and further pushing that agenda.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I was afraid going in. Go ahead, John.
The agenda of black racism being received by a white public is not the agenda to be further. That's not the story to be told here, at least in their mind.
Yeah, no. We're talking to John Rocker, former Major League Baseball pitcher, author of Scars and Strikes, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. I was afraid going in that George Zimmerman would not be able to get a fair trial. I hope I was wrong. I see the judge today just allowed, and to me it was mind-boggling that she at first would not allow, but just before you came on, John, she agreed to allow the toxicology reports to be admitted into evidence, and that showed that Trayvon Martin had marijuana in his system, that he had used marijuana before that run-in with George Zimmerman, which I can't imagine how that's not relevant to this case.
But there again drives a further wedge into this whole scenario. The left is trying so hard to push, keep continually showing pictures of a 12-year-old Trayvon Martin, little baby-faced, young adolescent kid, prepubescent kid or whatever, being beaten up on by some, hostile, profiling neighborhood watch bigot. In reality, and I was watching The Five a few minutes ago, and I can't call his name right now, but anyway, the narrative there was Trayvon Martin, 17 years old, George Zimmerman in his early 30s. Take a look at George Zimmerman. He's not exactly what you would call the picture of physique, the picture of athletic ability and things like that. 17-year-old kid. I mean, I've seen some pretty big 17-year-old kids, and you talk about a 17-year-old kid that, comparative to George Zimmerman, I guarantee is taller, may weigh a little less, but is certainly a lot stronger, a lot faster, has youth on his side, and you have a 17-year-old kid on top of, in a ground and pound position, a weaker, more physically inferior 33-year-old, who's going to win that fight all day long? The younger, more athletic kid is going to, or individual is going to win that fight.
Yeah, and then they had the testimony today of the athletic trainer of George Zimmerman, who said he took that court. He took
a one as far as athletic ability was concerned.
Right. Hey, let me ask you two more questions. First, before I get to you, I've played a report from CNN where they interviewed the police chief, the mayor, and the town supervisor of Sanford, Florida, where the trial's going on. Two of the three are black, and they are preparing for what they have said could be, God forbid, Rodney King-like riots. What do you think? Go ahead.
There are already websites that have been established already calling for riots, retaliation, and whatever if the jury verdict does not come out to satisfy the liberal agenda that's being pushed. Already websites established, meeting places established, things like that, to actually go protest, riot, things like that. You're absolutely right.
Do you fear that would be the case if he doesn't get convicted of something?
I don't fear it. I'm just.
No, I mean, are you afraid? Not do you fear for your safety, but do you predict that might happen?
Oh, I just think it's a foregone conclusion. Of course, it will.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, just as if O.J. Simpson had been convicted.
Right.
Yeah.
And when Rodney King's officers were not. Let me ask you: do you consider yourself? Do you see this case and you watch the media behaving in this case, and do you go back to what your interview and what was done to you?
It's very similar. I mean, the agenda, the liberal perspective has not changed in 2013, just like it was pretty much the same agenda being progressively pushed forward back in 1999, 2000. There again, I'm not really sure what the outcome here is, what the desired end goal of continually promoting the minority victim and the great oppressive white race. I'm not really sure what the desired outcome, if we can prove yet another situation, here's the good that will come from this. I'm not really sure, but yes, I can definitely see a correlation.
Where could folks read your stuff besides your book, Scars and Stripes?
Every Tuesday morning on WorldNetDaily.com.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. Now, let me ask you one or two baseball questions real quick here. Anything surprising you? You follow it, right?
To a degree. Obviously not like I used to, but yes, to a degree.
What about is it Scherzer with 13-0 for the Braves?
Scherzer's with Detroit.
I'm sorry. Who's 13-0? Is it him?
I believe it is. Yeah.
Yeah, 13-0. I mean, that's pretty wild.
I saw him throw in the playoffs last year. He has got tremendous stuff. Obviously got a tremendous team behind him with Miguel Cabrera and the like. 13-0 is a great number, but with that kind of team behind you, you can't say it's not surprising. But no, I don't think it's unsurprising either, considering his stuff and considering the other 8 guys playing behind him.
Have you seen Harvey for the Mets?
I have not seen him throw this year. I understand he's having a tremendous year as well.
He is. He's had like 6 games where the team has scored 2 or fewer runs, and he's gotten a no decision, or left with the lead and gotten a no decision. So he's pitched in a lot of tough luck. But yeah, he's something to watch. Who do you root for these days? If you root for anybody?
I root for individual players. I love seeing Verlander throw. I love seeing a couple of the guys with the Phillies throw. I love seeing how they throw. I enjoyed watching Weaver pitch last night against Boston. He really shut down a high-powered Boston lineup. So I like watching individuals, especially guys that I played with. I don't care if they're pitchers, hitters, whatever.
Right.
I like watching individuals. I like seeing individual guys that I know personally. I like to see them do well. I like to watch them perform.
All right, my friend. Thank you, John. We'll speak to you again.
Thank you, Steve.
Take care. John Rocker, ladies and gentlemen. And my only regret is I didn't have the Bruce Springsteen song queued up that we did last time John was on. I'm a rocker, baby, I'm a rocker. Darn, I missed that. But we'll get that next time for John when he comes back. All right, I don't know if we're going to have opportunity to check in with Jeff Weiner of the Orlando Sentinel, who's been so gracious with his time in covering the trial down in Sanford for the Orlando Sentinel. They're in a recess while they wait for a witness to come in, a toxicology witness. The judge said she wanted to get it done today. That testimony, not the whole trial, obviously, not the rest of the trial. So, but again, this will be the testimony relating to the The fact that Trayvon Martin had drugs in his system, or marijuana, I should say, traces of marijuana in his system when the toxicology reports were done. This will be entered into evidence. So if we could get a hold of Jeff Weiner during the recess, we will. If not, we'll come back, and we will be so interesting and let you hear such interesting sound bites that you will never, ever want to leave the show on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Are you at least 62 years old like me? Could you use an extra $50,000, $100,000 or more to live a better life? Then please consider the benefits a reverse mortgage can provide to you. With a reverse mortgage, you can have your mortgage payments stopped altogether and get equity out of your home to live on. And you can use the money to help you live a better life. How nice would that be, not to have a mortgage payment? Qualifying for a reverse mortgage is simple, since there are no income, asset, employment, or credit requirements. However, you must be 62 years or older, own your home outright, or have a very low balance on the mortgage, and be prepared to live in it throughout the rest of the loan. Call now for more information.
800-831-1560, 800-831-1560, 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
Obamacare. President Obama's massive health care law is taking effect this year. With over 15,000 pages of regulations, few even know what it means. Now, the Obamacare Survival Guide by Nick Tate gives you the shocking facts about this law. It's a step-by-step guide on how you can protect yourself. Already the New York Times bestseller, every American needs to get the Obamacare Survival Guide and find out about the new taxes, hidden fees, fines, Medicare changes, business rules, and why doctor shortages are likely. Donald Trump says the Obamacare Survival Guide is a must-read for anyone worried about getting good health care for themselves or their employees. So get the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's at bookstores, or get our special offer at Obamacare911.com and you'll save $15. Go now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com.
Health insurance is on everybody's mind right now. You either don't have it, or you have it and you think it's too expensive. And you probably feel like you don't have any options. We can help. We are InSphere Insurance Solutions. We offer health insurance plans from major carriers nationwide and likely have a plan that can save you money. Whether you're self-employed, on a COBRA plan that's about to expire, or you simply don't have health insurance where you work and you need it, InSphere Insurance Solutions can help you. Our agents will help you find coverage you can afford. InSphere Insurance Solutions is an authorized agency in all 50 states, including the District of Columbia. Plans may not be available in all states. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325.
This is the worst weather we've seen in quite some time, folks, and I don't see any end in sight. People have been calling in from across the state complaining their basements are flooding. One guy said he now has an indoor swimming pool in his basement. I told him he needs the waterproofing innovations from Basement Systems. If you want a dry basement or crawl space that will weather any kind of storm, you need the patented solutions from Basement Systems. You've seen them on home makeover shows throughout the country. With a lifetime warranty, every solution is custom designed for your basement. You can finally have that room you've always wanted with our total basement finishing system. Call now for a free estimate, and you'll never have to worry about storms like these again.
Call now for your free basement inspection at 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794. Learn how to waterproof your basement now. Call this number, 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794.
Do you have a motorized wheelchair or scooter that needs repairs and you don't know where to turn? Then call the experts at Precision Repair Network. They are the specialists in repairing all makes and models of motorized wheelchairs and scooters. You can call 24/7 and they will come to you anywhere in the United States. They'll give you a loaner to use until they return yours in perfect condition. And your repairs may be covered by your Medicare or your private insurance, so there is little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. If your wheelchair or scooter needs repairs, call this special hotline now and learn how you can get door-to-door service on your repairs at little or no cost to you. Precision Repair Network. They'll get you moving again. Operators are ready to take your call right now. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. That's 800-978-4813.
Microphones hot. Satellite link established. Studio lights illuminated. Cameras rolling. Audio and video encoders firing ones and zeros. Internet stream is streaming. The most technology advanced radio show is on the air. Here's the captain of this enterprise, Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. CNN is reporting that country superstar Randy Travis is in a hospital in critical condition with something related to complications of the heart. That's all I know. That's all they're saying. So if we find out anything further before we leave the air in the next 10 minutes here on the Steve Malzberg Show, we will let you know. Joining us now, I'm happy to say, is Jeff Weiner, Orlando Sentinel court reporter. And the trial's in a recess for I guess, for the next little while they find or bring in the witness about the toxicology. Jeff, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me back.
No, thank you. I was glad. Now, so they are in a recess until they get this witness, correct?
Yeah, basically, the jury was sent out for the day about 4:30.
Oh, for the day, so that's over.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The only testimony though, they basically, once the jury was sent out, the lawyers set to work on what should have been, or at least started out as pretrial motions that they're still kind of working through. They're going to keep working as soon as this defense witness arrives. He's not going to testify in front of the jury.
Oh, okay, my mistake then. Okay, so what? But this is about the toxicology. The judge, I thought under the impression that the judge had previously, on a different day, way back, ruled that the fact that Trayvon Martin had marijuana found in his toxicology report in his system was not relevant, would not be admissible. Was there a change of heart by the judge?
Well, basically, the judge's ruling, the pretrial ruling on that, only technically eliminated talking about the marijuana and Trayvon Martin's system from opening statements. She basically left the issue open. The presumption was that it wouldn't come in unless the defense could establish that it was relevant, but today she ruled that they did. She's actually already ruled on the toxicology. She says that it will come into the trial. The jurors will hear about the active ingredient of marijuana being in Trayvon Martin's system, and they will hear from a defense expert who we expect will say that could have had an effect on his mood, could have potentially made him aggressive, things along those lines. So the judge has ruled on that topic today. That's kind of the latest breaking news out of the trial.
Yeah.
We're waiting.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What we're waiting for still this afternoon is to hear whether or not the judge is going to allow the defense to use a computer animation, essentially, of Zimmerman's account of his encounter with Trayvon Martin and what witnesses have seen. They apparently put together some kind of a fancy demonstrative aid to kind of show the jury what they believe the evidence shows. The state says you shouldn't be able to do that. Jury should rely on the evidence and not be presented some kind of fabricated display. But the judge still hasn't ruled on that. They're waiting to continue a hearing on it.
All right, Jeff, we heard the two police detectives, the detective and the female officer who had previously testified for the prosecution and who I think were favorable under cross. They were called today to the detective first to say that Trayvon Martin's father had told him, when asked, after they played him the 911 call where the screams were heard, that his father, when asked, "Is that your son, Trayvon?" he said no. And the female police officer was in the room at the time. I guess she backed it up and said that he said no. Why then did the defense, do you believe, call the father when they had it and they knew the father was going to probably say no? I didn't say no, which is what he wound up saying. So what he did wind up saying was, I said I wasn't sure, which is just as damaging. But why didn't they leave well enough alone, do you think?
Well, it's really interesting. That's kind of what everyone's asking themselves here. Obviously, the two police witnesses who said that he initially said that he didn't think it was Trayvon, that it wasn't his son. Obviously that's a big boon for the defense, and they could have probably ended today with that as a pretty big victory. It's possible that they knew that or thought that the state would call Trayvon Martin's father as rebuttal testimony after the defense closed its case, and they just felt like they wanted to get ahead of that. But yeah, he got on the witness stand, and it allowed the state to put on some more emotional kind of testimony from a family member of Trayvon Martin, who said, I never said that, basically. And now, because that exchange wasn't recorded, the jury has basically the
reasonable doubt
on one hand, and the police on the other hand, and the net effect probably is still favorable to the defense, but definitely not as much as if the jurors hadn't immediately heard.
Now, at the end of that testimony, or the end of the questioning to Trayvon Martin's father, what was Mark O'Mara getting at with? Are you saying you didn't tell Ben Crump, your attorney, to lie? What was that about?
Well, basically, when it came out that the police were saying that Trayvon Martin's father, right after that, they came out and said basically that Trayvon Martin's father had said that it wasn't his son screaming. Ben Crump came out and basically said that that wasn't true, that Trayvon Martin's father never said that. He used some very strong language. I don't know if he technically used the word lie. I'd have to go back and look at it. But he also said that basically that Trayvon Martin's father had heard a cleaned up version of the audio and now believed that it was Trayvon. Now, Tracy Martin testified today that he never heard a cleaned-up version of the audio and never told Crump to say that. So, if Crump winds up getting called in this, he's going to have some tough questions to answer about what led him to say that.
Yeah.
Why did you say that your client heard a cleaned-up version of the audio when he's saying that he never told you that?
Very interesting.
I think O'Mara was setting the stage for that.
Gotcha. One other question here. You said a rebuttal witness at the end. Now, after the defense rests its case, then the prosecution gets to call more witnesses?
Yes, the state can call additional witnesses after the defense rests their case, only to rebut issues that the defense raised in their case in chief. So in other words, they can't put on new evidence necessarily, but they can call witnesses to counter what the defense puts on.
And the defense could cross-examine those witnesses, right?
The defense can cross-examine those witnesses. It's basically very much like the state's case. Usually, rebuttal is very brief and tends to focus on specific issues because otherwise the judge won't allow wide-ranging testimony. At least typically that's how it goes.
All right, Jeff, Crump aside, if we get Crump or don't get Crump, we're going to have this issue now of the toxicology, and we're going to have the expert witness on the forensics. Who else would be left for the defense, do you believe?
Well, I think probably the most time-consuming and most potentially interesting in terms of stuff we haven't heard yet will be the defense's forensic pathologist and the testimony on the positioning of the bodies, the gunshot, what their expert says about how marijuana could have affected Trayvon Martin's system. That's probably the main thing. We're probably expecting to hear from George Zimmerman's father. He's the one kind of family member and/or friend who we haven't heard from yet on this 911 issue. They may actually be saving him for the end. They're going to try to get this animation in. The judge seemed kind of dubious on it earlier in court. But other than that, we really don't know. And the defense has said that they think they could be done as early as Wednesday.
Jeff, so we will check in with you tomorrow if you're available again, if we're lucky enough. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care. Jeff Weiner, Orlando Sentinel, folks. It's getting very interesting. Very interesting. Still, in my view, no evidence to convict George Zimmerman. No evidence beyond a reasonable doubt on the Steve Malzberg Show.